treasurer writes, he's great.
Do we have, are the TVs functioning? Before I get started? Good evening. Welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. At this time, we call the meeting to order. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Carrie Butt. Here. Bernie Grant.
Here.
Peter Creel.
Here.
Hutchinson.
Here.
Jackson Paul's excused. Jeff Jar.
Here.
Brian Cullen.
Here. Okay, we have before us an agenda. Do I have any motion concerning the agenda?
Through the chair, I move to approve the agenda for this evening. Support.
Okay, we have a motion support. Any discussion? I do want to make the audience aware at some point this evening between possibly either item 3 and item 4, between item 4 and item 5, we'll be taking a short break due to the extensive agenda we have in front of us. So with that in motion, any other discussion? All in favor of accepting the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We also have before us the minutes from the regular meeting of April 9th, 2025. Do I have any action concerning the minutes?
Through the chair, I make a motion, we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of April 9th, 2025.
Support.
We have a motion support for the minutes of the regular meeting of April 9th, 2025. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't see any correspondence.
Mr. Chairman, the Van Buren Township received correspondence from Canton Township. Canton Township will be holding a public hearing on Monday, May 5th, 2025 at 7 p.m. regarding the consideration of the Canton Master Plan, Canton's Vision for Tomorrow, a comprehensive master plan for adoption. So that was the only correspondence that we received.
Okay, thank you. Moving ahead, general public comment. We've added this to our agenda. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak about an item not on the agenda this evening, please feel free to come forward. Seeing none, moving ahead. First item up this evening is public hearing. It's item number 1, case 24-008, Chick-fil-A special land use request. A request by the applicant PEA Group, Leslie Arcardo, on behalf of owner Belleville North Venture LLC to construct a drive-through restaurant. The site is located at parcel V 125-830-619-990005727 on the west side of Belleville Road, north of North Interstate 95 Service Drive and south of Tyler Road. This time I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Through the chair, make a motion that we open the public hearing.
We have a motion and support to open the public hearing. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, do we have anyone from the public to comment on special land use? Anyone from the public? And final, anyone from the public? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Through the chair,
Commissioner
move.
Creel.
I move to close public hearing.
Support.
Motion and support to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Okay, I don't see any old business before us, but we do have a lot of new. Item number 1, case 24-008, Chick-fil-A special land use request. A request by applicant group PEA Group, Leslie Arcado, I apologize. Accardo, on behalf of owner Belleville North Venture LLC to construct a drive-through restaurant. The site is located at parcel V 125-83-061-99-0005-727 on the west side of Belleville Road, north of North Interstate 94 Service Drive and south of Tyler Road. This time we have a presentation by the township staff. Director Akers.
Thank you very much. I will turn the presentation over to Vidya Krishnan, our township planner.
Akers. Thank you, members of the commission. The request before the commission tonight is from Chick-fil-A to construct a new 5,033 square foot fast food restaurant with 2 drive-through lanes on a 2+ acre outlot in front of the Menards on Belleville Road. The site is zoned C2, which is the extensive highway business district, and is located within the core commercial sub-area in the Belleville Road overlay district, which basically carries higher standards for site design and pedestrian amenities. Drive-through facilities are permitted in the C2 district, subject to special land use approval, which requires a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the Township Board of Trustees. The zoning ordinance has got specific standards based upon which the Planning Commission evaluates every request for special land use. I shall summarize those in brief. The first one is whether it will promote the use of land in a socially and economically desirable manner. Now, the proposed use, which is a drive-through, and specifically Chick-fil-A, is a high demand and generally aligned with the uses that are permitted in the C2 extensive highway business district. This district was basically designed for more automotive-centric, high-traffic and high-intensity uses because of its proximity to the freeway itself. The restaurant has a high indoor seating capacity, and the site has also been designed because of its innate nature of the business to maximize on-site stacking to accommodate its traffic needs. So we believe this site will not only serve the needs of the community, but it's also going to serve as a regional attraction to draw traffic, and as such, the site is designed in a manner to boost the economy of the local area itself. Is it necessary for public convenience at that location? Now, the development is situated on an outlot of Menards, which is a large big box retail within our B-Rod, and it has got frontage along Belleville Road. Now, the whole intent of the B-Rod is access management so that the individual outlots do not have direct access onto Belleville Road. As such, the site does have access to the west onto the north-south service drive and can access Belleville Road through a shared boulevard access on the north. The site is less than half a mile from I-94 service drive. Is it compatible with the adjacent uses of land? As I previously mentioned, this area basically has automotive-centric uses. It has got a pharmacy, it's got other drive-through uses such as fast food restaurants, it's got big box retail, Walmart, Menards. So the use does fit into the area where it is situated. And with compliance with the site design standards, which we have evaluated, we believe the standard is met. Is it designed, located, and operated so that public health, safety, and welfare is protected? With regard to the improvements that will be made to the site as part of site plan improvements, we believe the standard will be met. The applicant has provided a traffic impact study, which indicates that the site will need to accommodate significant on-site stacking, and that has been done. The applicant did go through multiple iterations of the site design until they reached this point before you tonight in order to make sure that they had the stacking on-site and would not create a nuisance on Belleville Road. The traffic impact study did indicate that the westbound left turn lanes onto the boulevard will likely require a little bit of signal timing optimization in order to function more efficiently. With regard to public services and facilities, I defer to the township's engineer to review that and to the township fire marshal for emergency access. The use is not likely to cause any injury to other property in the neighborhood. The site is an outlot that doesn't really have any vegetation or natural environment to consider. It is adding significant impervious surface area, but that will be offset by significant amount of landscaping, trees, shrubs, and other site improvements that will be added, and a good stormwater detention system that will be implemented for the site. The drive-through is within the provisions of the uses that require special use approval and is generally in harmony with the purpose and intent of the C2 district zoning. And the proposed use is related to the valid exercise of the township's police power. In addition to these general standards, there are 4 specific standards for drive-through restaurants. The proposed use does comply with all of these standards with one exception. At this time, their lighting plan is still in flux because the Township Planning Commission has set the illumination ordinance up for public hearing at your next meeting. By the time the applicant comes before you for final site plan approval, their lighting plan will be compliant with the new ordinance that is in place. So we did not emphasize on their need to comply with our current ordinance, which, as I previously have mentioned, is not really up to mark. Based upon our review of the proposal, we believe the use meets the general standards for consideration of special land use and does meet the specific conditions related to drive-through restaurants. It is our recommendation that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed drive-through special land use for Chick-fil-A to be located at 10010 Belleville Road, subject to site plan approval and all associated conditions. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Further to add.
Okay. The applicant. Do we have Mr. Cameron?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Not for special land
Not for
use.
special land use, I didn't think
I
so.
apologize.
Okay,
Getting mixed up. My fault.
problem. Presentation by the applicant for special land use. Introduce yourselves to us, please.
Is that on? Okay, sorry. Leslie Accardo, PEA Group. I'm with the Civil Engineering Company.
And Justin Lurk, I'm our Principal Development Lead with Chick-fil-A. Thanks for having us here tonight. So as she's hooking this up, I'll just give, I know you got a big agenda, so we'll try to be brief here. I'll just give you a little background, 30-second speech on Chick-fil-A. So we are a franchise company, so all of our locations are individually owned and operated. It's still a family business. Generation 3 and Generation 4 are running the business right now. But as a franchisee, owner, operator, if you get selected to run this location, you're only guaranteed one location, and that's your sole source of income. So you can't have another job or source of income. That's our secret sauce. So now you know the secret. That requires the owner operator to be in the store 6 days a week. So we're closed on Sundays. We're not looking for investors. We're looking for leaders that will lead their team leaders, lead the employees and associates, and kind of build the team and then create relationships within the community. So big on giving back to the community, and our local owner operator model kind of mirrors that. So just wanted to give that quick background, and Leslie will pull it up. Just a few facts about Chick-fil-A in Michigan. we're relatively new to the state, right around 10 years now. We opened our first location in 2015 back in Lansing. And I've worked on every location we've got in the state of Michigan. So it's been fun. I remember some of the first meetings and being asked what a Chick-a-Fill is. So, so it's been fun building the brand in Michigan. We certainly are blessed with a great following, but just wanted to highlight, some of the items about our company in Michigan. There was a recent news article looking to open 25 to 30 new locations in the state by 2028. So pretty aggressive growth plans in the state. Again, this is just trying to give customers more opportunities so there's not a big demand on in one individual location, okay? So this is part of that plan, and hopefully we can move through with approval. So again, I mentioned providing leadership opportunities. That also is scholarship opportunities. So in the state of Michigan, we've given over $1.1 million to our team members for scholarships to further their education, and that's part of giving back to the community as well. So, and every restaurant we open, one of our pillars is to help combat hunger, homelessness, and education. We'll be donating $25,000 to a local charity, Feeding America, and we now have just over 2,000 locations within the chain that participates in the Chick-fil-A Shared Table Program. So that's a program where we're donating some of the extra food, so keeping food out of the waste system, and again helping the hungry. So on the next slide here, just the existing picture of the site. That's right. So hopefully all of you are familiar. Just the grass lot out in front of Menards, just north of Walgreens. Again, this next slide is just the aerial shot, kind of showing you that pad site. And then all of this should have been in your packet as well, just the elevations of the building. So we spent a lot of time with staff. As mentioned, just making sure we've got a great design that everybody can be proud of here in Van Buren Township. So Leslie's got some of the material boards. We do have a 4-sided brick building. And you can see on the elevations, there's a canopy over the pickup door, and we'll walk through the site plan here in a little bit. But the purpose of the canopy is to help protect our team members that are delivering food out to you as a customer, and to protect you as a customer from, the weather as well. So in a rainy day or snowy day, which you guys never get any of that, you've got the opportunity to roll down your window and have a safe environment to receive your food and go about your day. So this is one of the 2 canopies on site that you can see is kind of attached to the building. That bottom right perspective, the entrance and the patio. So we'll have a few outdoor tables with umbrellas up front, just to like great days like this. I was by 3 other locations that we had, and it was just great to see guests outside in April and enjoying a warm meal. So those are just perspectives of the building that we'd be looking to bring here. Again, this is just the material boards, 4-sided brick building, and then just the color palette for all of our metal that we have on the building, all in the same design category to kind of bring a nice looking building to the township. This slide here is just kind of an overview of the site plan with, showing just some of the green areas as mentioned in the report. I won't go through all of the stats here, but meeting or exceeding the requirements in all categories here. So we can flip back to this if there's any questions, but that's just the high-level overview. If you're not familiar with Chick-fil-A, what you see up on the screen, we've got the building, which is facing Plan South, which would be facing Belleville Road, so that's due east. But you would access the site of one of 2 ways: off the Ring Road from Menards, or the shared access road between us and Walgreens. And then you can choose to dine in any of the parking spaces, or you can choose to enter our drive-through lanes. Like every other restaurant we've got in the state of Michigan, it's 2 drive-through lanes all the way around the building. That gives us a little redundancy if there's an issue in one of the lanes. Our owner-operators and team members are trained to kind of clear out one of the lanes in case there is an emergency, but It allows us to take orders quicker, to give the kitchen more time to get the food ready when you pull up to the pickup window. So as mentioned earlier, you can kind of see the second canopy. It's kind of page north of the building. That's where you would pull into the drive-through and place your orders. At the menu boards, if you've been by one of our locations during a busy time, you may have gotten your order taken from someone with an iPad or a tablet. That's what we call face-to-face ordering, just trying to give some human interaction there as well, greeting you with a warm smile and taking your order. And that's where the second canopy would be located, open air canopies, and again, for the protection for both our team members and our guests to have a safe place to order and then pull around, pick up the food, and exit from there. So we are here to answer any questions you all may have. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Next, commission, comments, discussion on the special land use.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jarrett?
I like the way the traffic for this drive-through is flowing around the restaurant. I like that it is not a direct exit onto Belleville Road. Belleville Road's already very crowded. I know that any special land use for a drive-through restaurant in that area of Belleville Road is going to have a lot of scrutiny on it due to its traffic impact, but I think it looks to me like this is well-designed, well-mitigated for what it is. You know, with regard to traffic load on Belleville Road, I think it looks okay.
Anyone else? Comments?
Is this the time are we going to be talking about this in depth now for the special land use, or is this
No,
just?
just concerning the special land use, and then we
Okay.
move into the site plan.
Through the chair, just to say, I've had a lot of people say that's what they want, so I guess I'd be very much in favor of a special land use.
Anyone else?
Just to give the Planning Commission a little bit more insight on this project, when Chick-fil-A originally submitted the plan, their drive-through was on Belleville Road.
Yeah.
And their canopies were in the front, and it was the north, and it was a non-starter. So then the building got rotated, and then the canopy was on the east side. It was still a non-starter. We did not want to see that detached single canopy. The only place where we found it acceptable was on the north side behind, where we would not see it. So the next iteration of the plan had the outdoor patio, but the outdoor patio was on the north side of the building next to the drive-through. We didn't see why anybody would want to sit next to a bunch of cars and a building wall, and B-Rod requires pedestrian connection. So then Chick-fil-A revised their plans once again, which is why they have been working with the township over the past several months, and this has gone through multiple changes, drafts, revisions, till we got to a point where we said, okay, this works, and you will put all your cars on your site, so there'll be no overflow onto Belleville Road at any point of time to create, you know, any issues, because traffic is always a concern on Belleville Road. So just wanted to let you know a little history. The building kept rotating, it kept moving throughout the site till it finally landed where it did. So,
Fantastic.
Mr. Chair, the effort shows.
Yes,
It really
that's-
does.
from what I can see, looks great for a drive-through. I like the expanded room, keep the stacking away from the road. Okay, do we have anyone from the public with any comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, planning commissioners, do we have a action on this item?
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion for case 24-008 to grant special land use request, Chick-fil-A, to PEA Group Leslie Cardo on behalf of the owner, North Venture LLC, to construct a drive-through restaurant, popularly known as Chick-fil-A, not Chick-fil-A, Phil, or whatever it's called. Located at parcel V125830619005727 on the west side of Belleville Road, north of North Interstate 94 Service Drive and south of Tyler Road.
I support with one correction, is that we're making recommendation to the township board to approve the
Okay,
special
yeah,
land use.
that's true. Okay,
You accept the amendment?
accept it.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Grant, supported by Commissioner Creel. Could we have a roll, any discussion on the motion?
Sounds like a good motion to me, Mr. Chairman.
Forward?
Okay, then could we have a roll call vote, please?
Ashenson? Yes. Peter Creel?
Yes.
Bernie Grant?
Yes.
Sherry Budd?
Yes.
Jeff Jar?
Yes.
Brian Cullen?
Yes. Okay, we've given you the special land use, now it's up to the township board. But we are now going to move ahead to item number 2, your preliminary site plan approval. Now we'll dive into the site plan. This is case 24-008, Chick-fil-A preliminary site plan approval. A request by applicant PEA Group, Leslie Arcardo, on behalf of owner Belleville North Venture LLC to construct a new Chick-fil-A drive-through restaurant. The site is located at parcel V125-83-061-990005-727 on the west side of Belleville Road, north of North Interstate 94 Service Drive and south of Tyler Road. Township staff, Director Akers?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I will turn it over to Vidya Krishnan, our township planner.
Thank you, Director Akers, members of the commission. With regard to zoning, as I previously mentioned, this is a special land use in the C2 Extensive Highway Business District, and the Planning Commission just recommended special land use approval to the Board of Trustees. The zoning ordinance requires certain basic information to be noted on the site plan. A few of those basic items are missing. Some of it seems to be corporate standard with strike-through. We don't like those kind of plans. Please remove the strike-through, clean copies only. With regard to the lot, since this is an outlot, a formal official lot split needs to be done from Menard's main parcel itself. That needs to be recorded. There is also certain easements, landscape easements, access easements, and other easements on the parcel. All of those need to be recorded before building permits are issued. So that is something that we wanted to make note of. With regard to the setbacks, the proposed building meets all of the setback requirements of the ordinance and is compliant with the maximum permitted height. Access and circulation, as I mentioned, that was one of the biggest points of discussion on the site. The site can be accessed on the northwest side by an access from the main service drive, which then connects to the boulevard immediately on the north side, going to Belleville Road, and then on the southeast corner, which connects to the Walgreens parcel itself. Now, that is a shared access. Not sure if there is a shared access easement at this time. If there isn't, a shared access easement must be recorded. And that also needs to be done prior to final site plan approval. Now, the access drive on the northwest corner of the site is a little close to the boulevard, but there is no other place to put that access drive to make the drive-through functional. So by its innate nature of the layout of the site, that was the only place we could possibly place that access drive. Cross-access is being provided to the south. This cross-access is one of the things that we require of all the parcels on Belleville Road and as part of the BROD requirement itself. With regard to emergency access, the applicant has submitted circulation diagrams for trucks, delivery trucks, and their vehicle supply trucks, which bring all their supplies. We had some concerns based upon where the delivery area is shown on the northwest corner of the site. We wanted to know what are the delivery times in order to ensure that it does not conflict with the peak hours of operation of this restaurant. And the applicant had noted that the site receives only box truck deliveries, not semi-trucks. So for box truck deliveries, what they have shown is more than adequate. It receives deliveries once a day between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., which is typically non-peak hours of operation of this restaurant. So that delivery space will be functional. Now, the fire truck circulation plan has been reviewed by the fire marshal, but we always defer to the fire marshal for final approval on it. Trash truck circulation. Now, the trash truck dumpster units are located on the northwest corner of the site. So for the time period that a trash truck accesses those dumpster units for its maneuvering, a little bit of the reversing will temporarily block the access into the site at that point. But once again, we tried to move the dumpster every other location of the site. There is simply no other place where you can probably put it. So the one thing we wanted the applicant to clarify, is it possible for them to schedule the trash truck accessing the site when it's non-peak hours? So that even if it's just momentary when the trash truck is coming, we would prefer it not to block any customer traffic coming into the site. So that is something if the applicant can check on and make that kind of limitation just like it is for delivery vehicles, that would work better. Traffic impact study, as I mentioned, has been done by Fleece and Vanderbrink, which is a very well-known traffic study group in the state of Michigan. They have made findings with regard to the level of service at all the nearby intersections for the site. According to the study, the level of service remains acceptable after the improvements, except for the westbound left turn level of service of Belleville, which can be improved with signal timing optimization. And it also says that the on-site stacking that is being provided for the drive-through is significant and does meet the needs of the site itself. Significant amount of sidewalks are provided. There is a sidewalk already along Belleville Road, and new sidewalks are being provided on the north side of the site, along the west side of the site, and along the south. And there will be sidewalk connections and crosswalks striped throughout the site, which meets the intent of the Belleville Road corridor and the overlay for all sites to be walkable. If somebody wants to walk to Chick-fil-A, sit in the outdoor patio, and then go back onto Belleville Road and walk, they should be able to do it, and the site does accommodate that. All new utilities will be placed underground for this new facility. With regard to parking, the site does meet its parking requirements. The one challenge the site had is with regard to placement of the RV parking spaces. The site does show the required 2 RV parking spaces. If you look at the 2 RV parking spaces, they are shown over here. There is no way 2 RVs are parking side by side like that. It's just not possible. At best, 1 RV is going to be parking over there. It is not functional, it's not feasible. So considering the fact that the site abuts such a large vacant lot next to it and there is significant area, we believe 1 RV space might be adequate for this site. We would be supportive of the Planning Commission waiving 1 RV space for the site and having that area striped for a single RV parking space. We would rather have 1 RV parked properly than have 2 RVs just striped over there, and it's striping for striping's sake, which is not going to be functional. I would rather have it striped for 1, make it functional. So we would be supportive if the Planning Commission can consider waiving 1 RV space, because the site does have more than ample parking space compared to other sites. All of the spaces are double striped and of a correct dimension that is required by the ordinance itself. The zoning ordinance does have extensive landscaping requirements with regard for frontage, parking lot landscaping, right-of-way, interior landscaping, loading areas, screening, outdoor space, mechanical, utility screening. For the most part, the subject site meets all of the landscaping requirements. In a few places, we do have recommendations about their plantings, the fact that they need to be a certain size when planted so that they achieve the screening intent at the time of planting. They don't take time to grow to that size. They should be effective when they are planted itself. One of the requests the applicant does have is we require green to be planted. We typically require grass to be planted within our landscape islands. The applicant's request is to have river rock in this landscape island. Basically, it is sandwiched between drive-through and parking, and the applicant does not believe that area is going to be viable for much landscaping. This situation previously arose in the Belleville Retail Center when you had reviewed. We do not object to the fact, because the applicant's contention was it basically becomes an area where litter gets put for the most part. So we do not object to it, but leaving it just rock is not the most attractive. We do know that ornamental grasses can survive in those kind of areas and are salt resistant. So our recommendation would be to have river rock over there with evenly spaced, compact groupings of ornamental grasses being planted over there. We did run it by a landscape architect, and they said, yes, that is something that would be viable. And these ornamental grasses look huge and fluffy, and they sort of give a relief feature between the drive-through and between the parking. It looks good on the site too. So that would be one of our recommendations for that area. With regard to screening adjacent to a C2 zoned area, the ordinance requires a 10-foot buffer on the north, south, and the west side of the sites itself. So the applicant notes that due to an easement, utility easement running the length of the south side, tree planting is not proposed for the green belt. We typically do not insist on any trees being planted over a utility easement. The Planning Commission can grant this deviation. However, it's a recommendation that if you're going to be waiving tree planting on the south side, they need to at least add additional shrubs on the west side green belt. The west side green belt, although it lines the Menards thing, you have a whole bunch of trees shown here, but we do believe addition of shrubs to create a more effective, after all, you have two double drive-through lanes coming around the whole thing. Maybe shrubs under those trees will provide for more attractive screening for that area, and it'll also look nice since Menards parking lot is so huge. It will be more effective. And we are in support of waiving the greenbelt planting on the south side because of the utility easement, but we do think it needs to be offset by addition of shrubs on the west side of the landscape greenbelt. There are specific requirements for the Belleville Road Overlay District with regard to bicycle parking, pedestrian access, site amenities, all of which is met by the applicant with providing outdoor dining, they're providing bike racks, they're providing crosswalk connections, all of which meet the requirements of the BROD itself. With regard to architecture, that has once again been a work in progress, and the applicant's final iteration was what you see on the screen before you tonight. It is traditional red color brick. We did discuss in detail the design of the freestanding canopy. The applicant did propose canopy design that had a pitched roof at one point of time. It did not look attractive. We saw a concept plan of a flat roof building with a pitched roof. It looked like a carport attached to a restaurant. So we did recommend that they go with the flat roof because it was more in line with the modern style of the building. Traditional materials, but the building looks modern. A pitched roof canopy looked incongruous with the whole thing. So we had recommended that they go with a flat roof canopy. However, it is clad fully in brick, and the colors on the coping and all match the building itself. So we believe the architecture that is proposed at this time is attractive. Now, the front facade at the ground level does include 50% glazing there. This is one of the few buildings which has got glazing on all sides. If you look at the building, they have included significant amount of glazing even on the north side and on the west side, even though typically the west side would be the utility side where people don't mostly see it. They have attempted to include windows as much as possible on every facade so that it is attractive. With regard to lighting, as I mentioned, we would defer lighting compliance till final site plan approval so that they can meet the new ordinance requirement. Trash enclosure, they did submit trash enclosure details previously that did meet ordinance requirements. I believe the sheet accidentally got missed in this level of submission. It needs to be turned in when they submit for final site plan approval. Outdoor dining, they have submitted outdoor dining details. The ordinance requires all outdoor dining furniture to be stored inside at the end of the season. The applicant has clarified that the reason why the ordinance has that requirement is during off-season, we don't want the outdoor furniture to be projectiles flying around during winds. The applicant has clarified that their furniture is bolted down to the ground or latched with cables and anchored to the ground. So they are requesting being able to keep the furniture there. The umbrellas and anything that is actually removable will be stored inside the building. We do not object to that. That's something the Planning Commission can choose to accept and grant the applicant that deviation. The applicant has submitted detailed signage. It is mostly compliant with the ordinance requirements. Slight correction, make sure every single sheet refers to Van Buren Township, not Belleville. With regard to engineering, we defer to the township engineer for comments with regard to engineering. Based upon our review of the proposal after multiple iterations, at this time, we overall believe that this building and the site design is compliant with our vision for the Belleville Road Overlay District, and we would recommend that the Planning Commission grant preliminary site plan approval for Chick-fil-A to be located at 10010 Belleville Road, subject to the 13 conditions that are listed in the McKenna review letter dated April 14th of 2025. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Mr. Kamer.
Thank you, Chair. In light of the long meeting today, I'll try to be quick. As mentioned earlier, this site was originally built out as an outlot with existing utilities surrounding the site. So new public utilities are at a minimum for this site. And for the water and sanitary sewer, they are just service leads, both for the water and the sanitary sewer. The water, there is a 6-inch fire suppression lead as well as a 2-inch service lead for the building. They are proposing adding a new hydrant for building coverage. And for the sanitary sewer, there's 2 sanitary service lines, one of which is connected to a grease trap, and the other, which then eventually connects to the grease trap, then discharges into the existing sanitary sewer on the north side of the service entrance drive for Menards. For stormwater management, I guess one clarification, Ms. Christian mentioned underground detention as part of the site plan. Because this site plan was originally a build out and an outlot proposed with the Menards site, it was included in the overall general retention plan and pond for Menards. And so in the applicant's plans, they mentioned that the existing storm system is a tributary to the regional detention pond constructed as the overall Menards development, and that the pond was sized originally for a C value, essentially the impervious area of 0.85, which the Chick-fil-A meets. The one question, or the one comment that we have is that we would just like to see the Menards plans, if the applicant has them, to verify that everything was in compliance with the Menards approval at the time when it was installed in 2014. There's some minor comments regarding the storm sewer system. Oh, and one other thing with the storm, they do propose what they call a water quality mechanical structure, essentially takes out all the grease and the sediment prior to discharging into the regional system. So that is a good portion of that. And then all the actual detention is part of the Menards site. The big thing that I'm sure a lot are interested in, and what we looked at, was the traffic impact study with any of these Chick-fil-A or new restaurants. Our Fishbeck traffic team did review the Fleece and Vanderbrink traffic impact study. And as a side note, Fishbeck does or has in the past done traffic impact studies for other Chick-fil-A's in the area. Obviously, with us being part of the township, relinquished that for this site. And there, as mentioned by Ms. Krishnan, and what's said, or what you may have seen in the traffic impact study, the addition of the site-generated traffic from the Chick-fil-A restaurant, all movements, approaches, intersections, will continue to operate at the same level of service as previous or pre-Chick-fil-A, based on the generated trips and the analysis done by Fleece and Vanderbrink. We did have 2 comments that the commission should be aware of, but really are not issues as far as our recommendation goes, but things that we believe should be updated as part of their traffic impact study prior to finalizing. Number 3 under our comments, there's a terminology called pass-by trips, which essentially is as somebody's driving down the road and they see a McDonald's, they may just pull into the McDonald's. Chick-fil-A has their own pass-by trip generation number. Essentially what it means is that Chick-fil-A is generating trips for people to come to their restaurant more so than other restaurants. So their pass-by trip generation is a little bit less than other restaurants or other sites. So in the traffic impact study, the study does not use the Chick-fil-A pass-by number, so we would like to see that updated to the Chick-fil-A number. And then, obviously, redo the analysis. We don't believe it'll change, but we'd like to see it updated for that case. The other item that we believe needs to be looked at a little bit more is when the trip generation and the exit numbers from the site were developed in the traffic impact study, the majority were utilizing the exit at adjacent to the site, so the non-signalized exit. Based on the numbers provided within the analysis, it's creating a bit of a backup into the Menard Circle service drive. So what we would like to see is if that's the analysis that Chick-fil-A or that Fleece and Vanderbrink believes of how traffic is going to disperse, then we'd like to see a mitigation plan for the traffic so that traffic isn't queuing up and backing up and then blocking traffic on the service drive, not just on the on-site. Other than that, everything else, as Ms. Krishnan said, there seems to be stacking, plenty of stacking within the site. And then the only other comment that's not in our letter, but in talking with our traffic engineers, one thing for, I think, the commission to consider is some of these sites have what we would call the honeymoon phase. Essentially, the first 30 days or 60 days of the site, or maybe longer. And the one thing that we didn't see, or maybe would like to see, or the Planning Commission could add as a condition, would be maybe just a plan to handle that honeymoon phase. If the stacking, again, stacking is based on numbers generated within a model, but if stacking does creep beyond the limits of the site, what is the plan for that mitigation? Anybody that's been to Canton and seen Raising Cane's, they use the Kohl's parking lot for their overage, which is across Sheldon Road. So I think rather than, I think rather than dealing with it as it's there, having a plan upfront and ready to go would be a benefit for the township if the Planning Commission were to, believe that that's important. So with that said, as we talk preliminary, we look at the feasibility of the site and we see no reason that this site should not be granted preliminary site plan for engineering feasibility, and look forward to seeing the rest of what they do.
Okay, thank you. Director Akers.
Thank you. I will go through the Township Fire Department letter dated April 9th, 2025. Fire Department did a preliminary site plan review for the new Chick-fil-A restaurant. The focus of that review was water supply and fire department access. The notes out of the plan indicate that the water supply was compliant. And then the notes out of the plan also indicate that the fire department access plan was compliant. The highlighted notes from the fire marshal is that the emergency vehicle access plan in the latest submittal shows that the Van Buren Township ladder truck, the latest comment that they had put in was 4/9/2025, where it talks about sheet C204 has been updated and shows accessibility using the dimensions for a pumper truck. So based on that, the Township Fire Marshal has indicated that it is compliant and is recommending preliminary site plan approval.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll entertain the presentation by the applicant.
We have no further presentation than what we did previously, but happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay. With that, Planning Commission, open up.
Chair.
Commissioner Grant.
Just a couple of things, and the mitigation plan that was suggested, definitely. Excuse me, I happened to experience the Raising Cane's situation, and I was shocked by it. shocked is not the word. You drive in and there was a line that circulated all the way around a retail center, and the police they were even involved in this, managing your very popular restaurant. I envision that there may be something similar, maybe, you're hoping, maybe. I mean, to some degree, you probably are. But I guess a question that's tagged on the end of that is a mitigation plan, definitely, and it should be coordinated with Van Buren Township, because they potentially could be part of it. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about this coming to Van Buren Township for quite a while, so, people know about this, and it's coming. So I have another question with regard to Menards. Do they know about, I mean, I assume they know about this and you've already talked to them, but because potentially for a while, they're probably going to get overflow parking from it, as well as the RV parking, considering that. And I have no problem with just the one personally, but it may be overflow for that as well. So as long as you have a good relationship with them and they're okay with it, then you shouldn't have any issue. I think the biggest problem that you're going to have is the honeymoon phase, for sure, and that you're going to have to deal with that. But I think overall, from the standpoint of circulation, I mean, I've experienced Chick-fil-A's, and I'm familiar with the Dearborn one, the one in Plymouth. So, and it's pretty typical that, like in Plymouth, they drive right through, the parking area to get into to get in the queue line, and it's about the same length, because you probably have a standard length that I would imagine that you're used to seeing. I like the one in Dearborn because it does avoid going in. It avoids the whole parking lot situations. That one, I don't think you have a choice on this site.
Correct.
I think you're going to have your own problem of managing on the site. I think it's great that they keep it on the site. Yeah. I do see, at peak hours, you might end up out onto the service drive between Menards and your site. But I think over time, as things settle down, it'll be manageable. So that's my general comments from the standpoint of circulation. I do have a question, though. The one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, and maybe it doesn't, it's maybe more of an issue for you, is that when you drive right, you come in from the upper right portion, the west side, the first thing you see are dumpster enclosures. And, I mean, they don't always look so great, even though I would imagine the construction of them is brick-faced.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to be busy. I don't know what the size of the dumpsters are and how often they do. I know there was mention of how often there's pickups, but it could be a messy place. And I mean, it's something that you'll have to deal with, whereas the visual, as well as in the summer months, I don't know how well it cooks in the summertime, but I mean, it may have its own issues. I don't know if, just as a thought, can they move it to the south side if they want? I don't know. I mean, you have the same issues as far as crossing lanes for garbage, but I'm not saying you have to. I'm just throwing it out there, but I don't know if there's any limits to doing it. It's still on the property, right?
South side, we're dealing with a lot of utilities that run through there, so that limited our ability to put the trash enclosure on the south, which is what you see on the left side of your screen.
I'm talking about in the parking area on the south side, where sort of where the RV is, maybe slide it down a little bit, maybe substitute. Maybe the RV can go over in that location. I don't know. I mean, I'm not against your plan. I'm just saying it's something you may have to deal with.
So the challenge also with the south side was, you look at the south side parking requires Walgreens parcel for maneuvering. So the parking that you see, the line split, the property line split goes
Yep.
right there. So for that portion of it, they will be using Walgreens parcel for the trash enclosures. Not only will they be building the enclosure partly on Walgreens property, which Walgreens might not find acceptable.
But isn't the parking on the Chick-fil-A property?
It basically just cuts through the bottom. Their parking will be on their site, but the moment you get out of the parking spot, you're on Walgreens.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they want to avoid the utility easement that runs there, they're going to be on the Walgreens parcel, and Walgreens is not going to allow them to build on their parcel.
So the utilities run under the
The Greenbelt area.
Oh, it's just the green belt. Yeah, I wasn't talking
Yeah,
about putting
yeah.
in the green belt area. Yeah.
Yeah. And the problem is, we looked at that too. We
Yeah.
weren't too happy that the first thing you see is an enclosure, and we said, how pretty can you make a trash enclosure at the end of the day? I mean, even if it's clad in brick. The problem was putting it there would require shifting of the whole drive-through to the front, which which threw the rest of the outdoor dining area off. We tried pushing it. We weren't very happy with that trash enclosure being the first thing to see either.
I mean, it's just, it's basically gonna be, your patrons get to see a trash enclosure when they first come in. Not, I mean, I guess I'm not concerned about that because they're not my customers, you know? And it's just a thought. I mean, I'm not saying move, it's your choice, but it's impacting your business, not me.
Sure.
And, you know, over time, it's not gonna look so great as trucks pulling it out of it and your gate breaks down a bit and, you know, you see boxes sticking out the top. It's in the end, it's your call.
Yeah.
But I think overall, the site functions well. That would be my only thing that I'm not crazy about, but the rest of it works well.
Yeah, as mentioned, not our first choice on where we'd put it, but based on the site constraints, this was the only place we really could put it, so.
Okay. And as
And we
far
do
as-
have steel gates. The steel gates match the metal on the building, the bronze metal on the building, and requirement for our team to keep those closed unless they're dumping the trash in the.
How often do they pick up again?
That'll be dependent on the provider and the franchisee, like what they coordinate with the provider. Sometimes it's twice a day, sometimes it's once a day, depending on volume.
Dumpster size too is the frequency of pickup, right? Because-
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jarrett?
look at briefly and drive past a dumpster, then sit, park next to it in a drive-through. I think it's a fine location. I understand from an architectural standpoint, the visual of driving past it, but driving past it is different than parking next to it, in my opinion. And a well-maintained trash enclosure gives me confidence in the quality of the restaurant. Mr. Chairman, I had a question about ownership of the parcels. Is Belleville Venture North the owner of the parcel, or is the Chick-fil-A people renting this from, and is it the same people that own Menards? Are they a tenant or are they an owner?
It's a separate owner from the Menards parcel,
Okay.
and
We
Chick-fil-A wouldn't be the owner.
asking because of the overflow parking issues. There's other parking lots besides Menards, there's Walgreens, there's a lot of neighbors around there, but that's parking in your neighbor's lot. That said, Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to ask the applicant if they're okay with eliminating one of the RV spots. You are? I think that there is on-site parking. There's not enough parking there for 2 RVs, but maybe it drive some business to the neighbors. I'm okay. I'm okay with there just being the 1 RV parking spot. It's very rare that I see any RVs parked at our drive-through restaurants, let alone 2 of them stacked up. I would like to know what the applicant thinks about putting grass into the River Rock.
Yeah, I think we can accommodate some ornamental grasses in the River Rock.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for staff. Has the applicant weighed in on the proposed changes to the lighting plan, or are they, that we're, trying to work through getting ratified, or are they unaware of those changes at this time? Have they weighed in on what they think our plan is with you?
Don't run proposed ordinances by applicants.
I only bring it up because normally we'd have to have the photometrics done. We'd want to see that it was done at this time, but your note says that they understand that it's going to change in the future. I was wondering if they were made aware of what the changes are.
The draft ordinance is a reflection of all the comments that we received from various fast food restaurants like Sheetz. We had heard from McDonald's also. We had heard in initial conversations from Chick-fil-A, from a lot of other business, Ashley Crossroads. All of them said your lighting ordinance is a little off. So we went by standards that we researched from all other communities and we came. So we believe it will be equitable to all businesses. We just don't individually ask for feedback.
Mostly I was
because-
thinking, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overstep. I was mostly thinking about the color temperature. I looked on their photometric sheet for what their proposed color temperature is, and it's too high compared to what our draft ordinance is.
Yes.
So that's the only,
Yes.
I'm sure it will come up later in the process. I was just wondering if it had come up already, and it's okay that it hasn't come up yet.
I do think all the businesses will be happy that we are going to allow a lot more illumination, which from their safety standpoint, they will be happy with. With regard to color, the heat and the cold, the Kelvin rating, I think the standards that you're putting in your new ordinance are great. I think it's not moderated enough in most communities. I think we've got to start somewhere. That's a good point to
Me too. But I had the applicant here, so I thought I'd bring it up.
We're asking for our feedback, but could we see a draft so we can plan accordingly?
Yes, it is. It was discussed at last meeting, so it is available online, but we'd be happy to forward it to you in
Great,
case you
thank
would
you.
like to.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, finally, I am okay with the elimination of the one, okay with the elimination of the one RV parking spot. I'm okay with the River Rock, with the groupings of grasses. I don't see a problem with the outdoor dining furniture remaining in place year-round as long as it's bolted down. You know, if it's permanent, okay, that's okay. I just don't need to see tables blowing around in a snowstorm. And I'm okay with the Planning Commission choosing to waive those requirements. That's it.
Anyone else? Comments?
Through the chair.
Commissioner
So I
Crick.
know there were some comments by staff about easements and everything that needs to be done. I'm assuming the applicant is already in those negotiations and everybody's fine with it? I mean, that's not going to be a problem moving forward, right?
Correct. I believe the easements are in place, so we just need to provide them.
Okay. Perfect. What was the other thing? I guess there was a lot of comments on some changes to landscaping, and is the applicant okay with everything proposed by staff? And the comments that we've made, Oriental grass in the River Rock and the shrubs on the west side, I mean, is that all
We can accommodate.
perfect? That's all I had. I love the plan, by the way. I think you guys with the stacking, you've exceeded with 39. I think that's, I mean, if you go off property, you're at 50 some. I mean, I've tried to do a quick. I'm hoping you guys are gonna be that busy. That's gonna be great, but I think it's all gonna be on property, so.
Moon if it overflows.
And that continues for a while, which I hope it does. So, thank you. Nice job.
Through the chair, I too have no problem with the single RV lane, the furniture being bolted down, great idea, no need for storage. The River Rock, grass or no grass, I'm fine with. I wanted to know, do you typically do a mitigation plan for your launches, for the honeymoon phase, I should say?
Yeah, so with, this is not our first store in the market. Our first store wasn't as bad as Raising Cane's, but there was good long line, and Allen Park, had some parking lot to overflow into, and then we started opening number 2, number 3, number 4 during the heart of COVID. So those were long lines because every other restaurant was closed. So to answer your question, yes, we have a grand opening team that travels across the country specific for grand opening events. They're leader teams, and then we send employees from other stores across the country to this store to help with that honeymoon period. The grand opening team will meet with the operator prior to opening and put together a plan for traffic mitigation as discussed. Likely share that with the township so it can be communicated to the public on social media, et cetera. So it's all about trying to get the word out there ahead of time, because if you're the owner operator and this is your sole source of income, you're going to want a good guest experience so they keep coming back. So again, that's the secret sauce, is making sure it's a great guest experience, good quality food. You want to come back.
How long are you projecting this honeymoon phase to be for the launch here in Van Buren Township?
They vary at every store. Sometimes it's 3 days, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60 days. So we've got a store under construction in Ann Arbor right now, just to the west of here. So we're trying to fill in the areas. We're working on a site in Canton right now as well. Hopefully it'll be around the same time period as this one. So again, trying to sprinkle through, but typically around that 30-day time period.
Nice, nice. I see, just a comment, just being nosy, I see that you received approval yesterday in Heartland.
Mhm.
How close is that store to us in construction-wise and the size?
Construction timeline should follow the same timeline, and same size building as well. And I would say very similar parking spaces right at 60, and same thing with the drive-through stack. So this is what we're aiming for on all of our developments: number of parks, drive-through stack, et cetera.
Nice. Well, thank you for considering Van Buren Township and coming. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. Chair, I have one more question. This is a preliminary site plan approval, right? Do we want to defer notation of the building material samples and approval of that until a final site plan review, just in case those numbers change between now and then? Or should we approve those samples today?
I think you typically approve it with preliminary. The only thing in final is a few minor changes that you do. And if the applicant has any issues, they will come back with the changed material for final. But we would prefer to have the preliminary finalize the material so it doesn't change.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask if the applicant has been fully briefed onto the procedure for changing materials in the Belleville Road Overlay District. Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
The applicant did bring the samples. And they do look very nice. Are you good with them? I think they look Belleville Road Overlay District-y.
This full white brick?
No, it's kind of a cream. Would you like to see it closer?
No, he was asking, right? Full white brick?
No. Did you say white brick?
Well, oh, I'm sorry, full width brick.
Yes, full width brick.
We're good.
That's procedural.
It's like an inside joke.
Through the chair, I would agree with all of the comments that have been made, and that we would, and then I think they also noticed the deviation for the West Greenbelt on that side, and I think we would approve that too, along with all the other comments that were made by Dar and Pete Creel.
Okay. Any other comments? I throw my 2 cents. I have eaten at a Chick-fil-A down in Tennessee and enjoyed the experience, and excited that you guys are coming here. I like the looks of the building, and I like the idea of the outdoor seating being anchored from the standpoint, here in Michigan, we never know what our winter weather is going to be. And there's always those days in the winter where it could get 55, 60 degrees, and people may enjoy the idea of, wow, we get a break. Can we sit outside? And if we're pulling all that stuff in, so that's my comment. I'm happy that you're coming along. So do we have anything else?
I like the seating on the west side too, or on the east side.
Mm-hmm.
Because the sun coming from the west, you'll get good afternoon shade. I've been in restaurants where it's on the west side and you cook. If you like cooking, that's good. So, sorry, didn't mean to jump.
Cut the dumpsters.
Anyone else? Any other
The
comments?
dumpsters, the trash.
Do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment? Anyone from the public that would like to comment? Anyone from the public? Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion if someone so desires.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to grant the applicant preliminary site plan approval to construct a drive-through restaurant at the site described in the agenda item, based on the analysis and subject to the conditions called out in the McKenna letter of April 14th, 2025, Fishbeck letter of April 17th, 2025, Van Buren Township Fire Report, April 9th, 2025, noting that the Planning Commission is approving the conditions recommended in the McKenna letter in the points section. Specifically, the RV deviation, the river rock, the building materials and colors. Ms. Krishnan?
extra shrubs in the west side greenbelt to make up for the greenbelt on the south.
And the extra shrubs, noting specifically those, they are covered in the letter, and we approve those. Submitted for approval.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jar, supported by Commissioner Creel. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Bernie Grant.
Yes.
Sherry Budd.
Yes.
Peter Creel.
Yes.
Medina Atchison. Jeff Jar.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. We're excited. Okay, moving ahead. Item number 3, case 25-006, Auto Kineton Canopy Addition, preliminary and final site plan approval. A request by applicant Lee Contracting Incorporated, Adam Tabbitt, on behalf of owner Auto Kineton, to construct a canopy structure over existing scrap dumpster. The site is located at 6201 Haggerty Road. Presentation first by the township staff. Director Akers.
Thank you. I will defer to Vidya to go through the planning staff review letter.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Commissioners. The request before you tonight is from AutoKineton, a manufacturing facility, to add a 6,600 square foot metal canopy within an open air bay on the existing building. So this is on the south side of the building. It'll cover a portion of an existing outdoor storage area. The applicant is also seeking to modify and expand the total area dedicated to outdoor storage. So the site is zoned M1, which is light industrial district, and accessory outdoor industrial storage is a principal permitted use. Now, the central storage area where the canopy is to be located, so the application basically says they just want to add a 6,600 square foot canopy. But during the site plan review process, we noted that the central storage area where the canopy is to be located has been modified in shape, and the area has been increased from the approved 11,889.5 square feet, which is what was approved in 2014, to 17,533 square feet. An additional outdoor storage area totaling 4,680 square feet has been added on the southeast corner of the site, which was previously shown as a truck circulation area. An existing portable canopy of 1,140 square feet is also shown on the revised site plan, which was not previously approved. So based on the plan submitted at this time, it appears that the outdoor storage on the site has been greatly expanded beyond what was previously approved by the Planning Commission. With regard to required information, just a couple of notes are required. The proposed canopy is compliant with all of the dimensional requirements of the ordinance. The main issue that we were reviewing on this project is with regard to access and circulation. So this canopy is located on the south side of the building, where the building actually has got a bump in. So it is unclear if the addition of the canopy impacts truck circulation to the storage area, building, or the dumpster in any manner. So when a project is initially submitted, we do a staff review. During the staff review, we had previously asked for truck circulation diagrams to be provided to show large trucks and emergency vehicle circulation to be provided on the main drive aisle. So this site is the location of the former L&W Engineering. So we had asked for truck circulation diagram when you enter the site of Haggerty, coming all the way through in. This is a huge building. It's over 200,000 square feet, and it's got outdoor storage of over 45,000 square feet, auto parts. So we wanted to make sure that it's got ample circulation for not just semi-trucks that bring the parts in, but also for emergency vehicles. But no plans have been provided. With the plans now showing unauthorized outdoor storage on the southeast corner of the site that was previously shown for truck maneuvering, we have additional concerns about the turn movements for larger trucks. So we need to see proper truck circulation diagrams that show adequate maneuvering for semi-truck, garbage truck, and a ladder truck. With regard to parking and loading, the applicant has provided parking calculations on the plan itself. The site has got way less parking than what is required under the ordinance, which is okay because it apparently meets the needs of the site based upon their employee count. Typically, the Planning Commission grants this as an official deviation from the parking standards. There is no record of this ever being granted as an official deviation. So if the Planning Commission wants to formalize this, you can do it as part of the site plan approval so that it is on the record. With regard to loading, as I previously mentioned, loading spaces were previously shown on the southeast corner of the building, and a new loading area was also constructed. But as I mentioned, on the southeast corner of the site, there is a whole area where now you have extra additional 4,900 square feet of outdoor storage located in an area that was for loading and circulation. If you look at landscape and screening, the applicant has noted that 3 additional Colorado spruce trees will be installed near the billboard sign to comply with the original landscape plan for the site, to additionally adequately screen the site. So they did submit the original landscape plan for L&W, and whatever trees are missing, they're going to put that in. But if you look at the photograph, this site is flat. It's at the level of I-275. You can see everything that is stored along the freeway on the site. It's clearly visible. An addition of 3 Colorado spruce trees is going to do nothing for screening of the site. It is our recommendation that all of the outdoor storage that is on the southeast corner of the site be completely eliminated and removed from here. Stormwater pond, we defer to the township engineer. No more impervious surface is being added, but we don't know if anything is being impacted, so we defer to that extent to the engineer. With regard to architecture and facades, there are no changes to the building itself being proposed. The applicant has stated that the freestanding canopy is galvanized aluminum pre-engineered canopy. It is freestanding and will be affixed with concrete piers. This is shown on the elevation plans, but typically the Planning Commission does like to see a colored rendering, as you have seen on other canopies such as Neapco, where you wanted to see how does the canopy look when it is attached to an existing building. With regard to dumpster, the site plan indicates only 1 dumpster. Additional dumpsters, trash compactors, or refuse storage areas are not proposed nor permitted. So at this point of time, there are just so many outdoor storage bins, enclosures, and stuff. Really cannot make out the difference between what is a trash enclosure and what is meant for storage of parts. The ordinance has got specific standards for accessory outdoor industrial storage. Now, the specific standards say that accessory outdoor storage areas may not cover an area larger than 20% of the area of the ground floor of the principal building. Now, the Planning Commission may permit accessory outdoor storage areas up to 33% of the area of the ground floor of the principal building following a public hearing. So the building footprint is about 228,172 square feet, which would permit about 45,634 square feet of outdoor storage. The Planning Commission, after holding a public hearing, can up it to 75,296 square feet. The plan notes 45,538 square feet, which is within the limits that is permissible by the ordinance. So it is within the 20%. But some of these areas have been added without permission from the Planning Commission or approval from the Planning Commission. So these areas are typically reviewed by the Planning Commission simply because these are parts storage. It is very important to ensure that on industrial sites, when you have these outdoor storages, there is adequate room for circulation for vehicles, emergency vehicles, fire trucks. This building goes all the way up to the greenbelt on I-275. On the east side of the building, there is no fire truck access. So being able to go to the extreme end of the parking paved area is very important. So adding of any outdoor storage in that area is not advisable for that reason. The second is there is a limit on the maximum height of storage materials. The storage currently complies. The approved standard is 20 feet, which is noted, and the proposed canopy does comply with the height. However, the outdoor storage is also required to comply with all federal, state, county, and local fire department regulations. It is our understanding that the fire marshal at this time does not have adequate information to say that it complies with fire circulation requirements. When we reviewed this for staff review in February 2025, we did identify several items that needed to be provided. Since the project did not involve addition of any major structures, we believed a revised submission could be considered by the Planning Commission for one-step approval for preliminary and final. After all, it was just a canopy addition. But when the plans were resubmitted for approval, we noticed just the extent of outdoor storage areas that have been added. We compared those to the plans that were approved in 2018 and 2014, and we noted just how much change has taken place and how many things have been added. So without a truck and emergency vehicle circulation plan and elimination of the outdoor storage areas, at this point, we are not in a position to make a recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. At this time, Fishbeck offers no comments from an engineering feasibility, as the canopy is just replacing a paved area. I guess the only comment that we would have is that the contractor should verify that existing drainage patterns are maintained, not causing any undue drainage issues on site, and that any drainage structures and sanitary service are protected during any underground footing work during the installation. So at this time, we would recommend preliminary and final site plan approval based on engineering for the canopy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Akers.
Thank you. I will go over the April 15th, 2025 letter from the township's fire marshal. They did review the site plan for the construction of the canopy addition. The status of the site plan review is that they had returned it to the applicant with the note that an emergency vehicle access plan will need to be submitted. So they made a handful of comments regarding the plans, showed metal products stored in the fire department access turnaround. An earlier submittal in November did not show the storage, outside storage. The approved access roads have to be provided for every facility, building, or portion of a building. Where the vertical distance between the grade plane and the highest roof surface exceeds 30 feet, they have to have an approved aerial apparatus, fire apparatus access road. The other comment, dead-end fire apparatus access roads in excess of 150 feet shall be provided with turnaround provisions. The distance of the south side access road exceeds 800 feet, and the turnaround now has storage obstructing the access, and that the emergency vehicle access plan shall be submitted using the dimensions of the township's fire ladder truck. So that concludes their summary.
Okay, thank you. Presentation by the applicant. Do we have the applicant here? Okay, please. Introduce yourself as well, please.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name's Adam Tabbitt. I'm from Lee Industrial Contracting. I'm the one that put in for this permit on behalf of Auto Kinnington. We were contracted to install a prefabricated canopy structure over top of existing scrap dumpsters for Auto Kinnington. It's a pretty simple project. It's on the surface, it's a simple project. Yeah, it's roughly 110 feet long, 60 feet wide. On the high side of the canopy that will be more towards the building, it's 36 feet tall. On the lower side, it is 33 feet, 6 inches tall. This is the new updated site plan since the second site plan review. I know we did do the initial site plan review in February. received those comments, made corrections, turned it back in, and this is the second plan review, or I guess our third site plan, based off of the letter from McKenna that was issued on April 11th. So I guess that's my presentation of the project. I guess to address, I don't know how this goes, so I apologize. I don't know if that's my presentation, right? It's a scrap canopy. It's to cover an existing dumpster, so.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Creel?
It sounds like a lot of the issues, and I'm gonna, more question to staff, is things that were done outside of this applicant.
And, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
I didn't
go
mean to
ahead.
overstep. But to address like the storage areas, right? I know that was a major concern when we did the original meeting. The southeast corner of the building here, where this is a newer addition of, like, I would call it their shipping area. It's truck wells from, east to west. This area here, there is storage that we detailed as storage after our initial plan. It is not storage. It is scrap. It is stuff that should not be there. And it is being removed. So that 4,600 and some change square feet, that will no longer be there. That is something that we've worked with the plant to get removed. So I guess, but yeah, I guess I wanted to throw that in there. I should have threw that in there when I started, so.
No, that's great. I mean, it's simple to remove it, and if that's, what was also, what was done without permitting prior to? Was it just the outside storage?
The challenge
Not
is,
storage? I don't know. That's the thing.
Mr. Tabbitt is correct. He's just building the canopy. So ideally, it should have been somebody from AutoKineton who should have been here to answer why they expanded and put all those outdoor storage in without approval. We are not talking about 2 bins. We are talking about 10,000 square feet of auto parts sitting outside. Mr. Tabbitt is putting the canopy, and like he says, it's a simple project. He's just building the canopy. Problem is, he's left stuck with answering a non-compliance on a site plan. I'm sorry, you're stuck with this project. Yeah. So somebody from the company should have been here. I know they are saying that they will clean it up, but
Mr. Chairman,
it's not going to show up day after tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to shoot the messenger. This
Right.
gentleman has come before us with the plan just on the part that he's responsible for, but that's not what's at issue. What's at issue is that Otto Kineton has come for a one-step. They're looking for a final site plan along with a preliminary site plan approval, and they don't have what I would consider adequate data for a preliminary site plan approval, let alone a final site plan approval. This is a contract that they're talking about. This, when it's final site plan, it's supposed to be perfect, minus a very small number of things that staff can, fill off as a checkoff. This isn't in the right state. We don't have sign off from fire. I don't remember the last time my consultant from our McKenna firm has not been behind a recommendation. So without having to waste this gentleman's time, we appreciate you being here. I hope you build a great canopy. I think you'll get to build it, But at this time, I think we have to move to postpone this. I don't want to deny it. I don't want to make it, I don't want to tell Otto Kineton they can't put a canopy up, but I need to see the documentation. I have to approve something, and I don't have it.
Would it help if Mr. Tabbitt was told that somebody from AutoKineton has to be here to answer and give those assurances in writing that all those will be cleared up and provide the information? Because, Mr. Tabbitt can give us the assurances and build the canopy, but they're the ones who own the building, and tomorrow they're going to put the stuff back.
There's no doubt about that, because he's here. I don't think anybody has an issue with what you want to do.
Right.
It's just that right now, you're kind of holistically representing the owner on everything, but you're really not here for everything. So I agree, I would agree. that-
Yeah, I know, and it throws a knife into your
Right.
situation. But if they were doing this now by putting, and the storage in place and not giving us anything, what's to say, once you're done, they remove it, once you're done, that it doesn't come back in there 6 months from now, and now you're stuck. You need to have the owner's representative here with you, I believe, to answer the questions that were brought up by staff before us, because they look like major issues that we need to resolve from them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask staff, these building without a permission and storage on site without following the rules, those are violations that the township could pursue against the owner, are they not?
Yes.
I don't think I want to recommend that at this time. But I would like it made clear to the owner that that is a possibility. We need to see a proper site plan that pleases and that our consultants and our staff can bring in front of the board so that we can do our job properly with regard to health, safety, welfare, protecting the rights of your owner's property as well as their neighbor's property and the residents of the township. We're not trying to give you a hard time, man, but that's our job. We have to protect everybody, and unless we're given the proper documentation, we can't do it. Mr. Chairman, I'd move to postpone preliminary and final site plan approval until staff and VBT Fire deems that a revised submission is appropriate for a preliminary site plan approval or even a one-step approval. This being based on the analysis that I've read tonight in the McKenna letter of April 11th, 2025, and the VBT Fire report from April 15th, 2025.
Even with the, and I understand, right, I get it, right, but even with the new site plan, this imagery does in fact detail out like there is clear and open access for someone to turn around, like we're not inhibiting that in any way, and the added storage that is now shown on the site plan, it's not, I guess, affecting how the site works. So,
Mr. Tabbitt, the fire marshal will have to actually review that the fire truck can actually make the turn. I know you have checked it, but he has to check and say it's okay. As to I will put my truck turning templates and make sure that it works.
Yep.
So from your standpoint, that should be okay. But somebody from AutoKineton will have to give it in writing that that will go, all the storage, extra storage that they put in, they're going to clean up and it will not come, because a written document from a representative of AutoKineton is the basis by which township can take legal action to get the site cleared up and make sure that they don't try to do this one more time. It should never have been done in the first place. I mean, they could have always come and asked permission from the Planning Commission and gotten it. But they choose to do what they did.
Sir, what I can recommend, we have our staff here, and our planning staff has office hours on Tuesdays and Thursday morning. If we can schedule a time, either Tuesday or Thursday morning, I can ask the fire marshal for his availability as well. We could all schedule a meeting and resolve or work out the issue.
so that would be next steps then, I would assume? Okay.
Yes.
That would be if the planning commission were to
Agree to postpone.
support that motion that I presented.
What I'm waiting. Okay.
But
Okay, we have a motion to postpone the action on AutoKineton's Canopy Edition and supported by Treasurer Bud. And could we have a roll call vote on that, please? Oh, discussion on that motion. Any further discussion? Excuse me. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Peter Creel? Yes. Bernie Grant? Yes. Sherry Budd?
Yes.
Medina Atchison? Yes. Jeff Jar? Yes. Brian Cullen?
Yes. So what's happening is we're postponing this to a future time. You need to meet with staff or have a member of AutoKineton meet with staff to put together and to work out these discrepancies that are there. I do have a question, though. Who, I noticed on the application for the, coming before us, that it was also by Jones and Jones Leasing. Are they the ones, do they own the property? Do they own the building and Auto Kinetron Leasing? Or,
Honest, I don't know. I know it was previously L&W Engineering, and now Auto Kineton purchased them. So it's just one of Auto Kineton's plants.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look at the ownership records. I don't know off the top of my
because
head,
I'm
but I will
wondering who's
verify it.
responsible on the storage? Is it the leasee or is it the owner of the property?
It's likely the leasee,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
again, we'll verify.
My only question.
I don't think it's very far from getting the whole issue worked out. It just has to be written down.
Right. Would you like to take a break? Okay. Okay. Well, at this time, if, you're welcome. I apologize that we couldn't come to something more than what we did. Okay, if there's no objection from the commissioners, at this time, I would like to recommend a 10-minute break to get up, stretch our legs, because we still have a few before us. And we know it's tough on you guys waiting out there. However, we're sitting here, so we'd like to take a few minutes. And we'll come back.
There's some refreshments in the back.
There's some refreshments in the back as well, and we'll resume at 7:15. No objections? We'll take a break.
don't have to go in, just go.
You had to tell me that.
Ask him for a strawberry acai drink.
You can pour Coke in the toilet and use to flush, right? You're like, seriously? I'm never going to drink Coke again.
7:16. And to move ahead, we are now on item number 4 for this evening. Case number 24-010, McDonald's preliminary site plan approval. A request by Tanya Momchev on behalf of owner McDonald's Corporation to tear down and rebuild of McDonald's. The site is located at 10760 Belleville Road. We have presentation from the township staff. Director Akers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will turn the presentation over to our township planner, Vidya, to go over the planning staff review letter.
Thank you, Ron. Good evening, members of the commission. The request before you tonight is from McDonald's to demolish their existing restaurant on Belleville Road and build a new 4,483 square foot restaurant in its place. This is part of the restaurant modernization process that McDonald's has been performing throughout the country. The site is zoned C2, Extensive Highway Business District, and just like the Chick-fil-A site, it is located within the BROD, the Belleville Road Overlay District. All of the required information for site plans is on the plans that have been provided. The site is 1.33 acres, and with regard to zoning, the drive-through use is a special land use. However, the site special land use runs with the property. The site is already a fast food restaurant, and as such, it does have special land use already and does not need special land use approval again. So it's before you only for site plan approval. The proposed building complies with all of the dimensional standards of the C2 district. With regard to access and circulation, one of the key requirements of the BROD is access management, which is to prevent excessive curb cuts onto Belleville Road. However, because of the shape of the site and the nature of its layout, the applicant is retaining the existing access drive and curb cuts of Belleville Road. Because the site is very narrow and long, it's got an access drive in and an access drive out. It's got a northern access drive through which you enter and a southern access drive through which you exit out of the site. However, in the interest of providing cross-access, the applicant is creating a northern curb cut onto the main boulevard drive, that one of the main drives that comes into the shopping center itself. Initially, we had recommended that they provide cross-access to the west. However, cross-access to the west would go through the service drive connecting between the Walmart and the Menards parcel at a junction which wouldn't make it safe because it's too close to the stop sign. The chances of it creating conflict were greater. Therefore, the property owner was not very comfortable with granting that cross-access, creating more points of conflict. The northern access made more sense. So at this point of time, the applicant is proposing cross-access to the north, which we are in support of. This will require somebody who is going into the drive-through lane to enter from the north access drive or enter off Belleville Road on the north access drive, go around the building, and then get into the drive-through lane. One of the things that is not covered in my review letter, but which I had the opportunity to speak with the DDA director, was if the exit lane, that is the south lane of Belleville Road, if it could be restricted to right turn out only, so that it does not turn left onto Belleville Road, because it is so close to the boulevard immediately to its north, so close to the boulevard coming out of Walmart to its south, that sets up multiple points of conflict. So this would merely require somebody exiting off the site wanting to go north on Belleville Road to just go around the site and get onto the northern access drive and get back onto Belleville Road. It's not much of a difficulty, and the applicant has indicated that they are amenable to that change and they have no issues with that restriction. So based upon that, the layout that the applicant has proposed, we believe, is in the interest of good circulation for the site. The applicant has submitted delivery truck routes and circulation plan for the site. All of it seems workable. The delivery truck, however, shows major conflict with the RV parking spaces. The applicant has shown 2 RV parking spaces. In hindsight, after looking at the Chick-fil-A site, we would be in support of reducing the RV parking requirement on this site also to one RV parking space. It would make sense for vehicles to be able to circulate better on this site. That said, we would also hope that McDonald's would have a plan to restrict their delivery vehicles to non-peak hours of operations so that it doesn't conflict with customers coming in and out of the site. So if that is a deviation the Planning Commission can support, limiting the RV space to one instead of two, we would be in support of that. The site does provide sidewalks along all of its street frontages and within the site and provides adequate connectivity as required by the BROD. With regard to parking, the site is in compliance with the parking and stacking requirements of the ordinance. All of the spaces meet the ordinance dimensional requirements and are adequately double-striped. The ordinance has extensive landscaping requirements. We have a few recommendations for substitution of species which are non-desirable species based upon the male or the female of the variety. So these are minor corrections that the applicant can make to the landscape plan, which is not a big of an issue. With regard to screening adjacent to the C2 district itself, because the site is so narrow and the parking spaces are angled, as a result of which some of the landscape green belts along the perimeter of the site, especially to the north side of the site, is reduced significantly in width. We support a reduction in the width of the green belt over reduction in the width of the drive aisle through the site. We believe the drive aisle is wider than what is required for one-way circulation, but we would rather have a wider drive aisle through the site than have a narrower drive aisle and more green space. In any event, along the north side of the site, the applicant has got a significant amount of green space up to the main boulevard that is unbuildable land. So there is a narrow strip. It's just a narrow strip of land that is part of the boulevard in the right-of-way. It's not really a parcel to be built upon. So we are fine with the Planning Commission granting a deviation from the greenbelt requirement on the north side itself. With regard to tree removal, it's not necessarily tree removal. However, these are established trees with the existing McDonald's site itself. So when existing trees that are part of the site are being removed, if these trees were part of their landscape plan, it's just fine because they are accommodating it in a new landscape plan. But 2 of these trees are located in the right-of-way, and 2 of these trees are on the neighboring property. So if it's going to be coming out as part of the grading itself, when they're putting in the access drive, it is located to the north. They need to replace those trees. As regards to the Belleville Road Overlay District requirements, the applicant is providing the bicycle rack. With regard to amenities, this was a topic of significant discussion with the applicant. There is a bench located on the northeast corner of the site along Belleville Road. For the longest time, McDonald's thought it belonged to the DDA. The DDA does not own these benches, and the DDA has got nothing to do with it. This bench is not exactly in the best of conditions, nor is the area where it is located. The McDonald's said they will just leave it as it is. Well, that's not good either because it's not in a good condition. So our recommendation is that the area be improved with proper brick pavers so that you don't want somebody to eat an ice cream and fall face forward because the bench is not exactly level. So the area be put with new brick pavers and the bench just be stabilized on it and maybe just landscaping around. Make it look good because it's part of the Belleville Road Overlay District. It's part of your amenities and that would meet the district requirements itself. With regard to architecture and building colors, the applicant has bought materials as we have started requiring all applicants to bring before you. The applicant had originally submitted an elevation that was dark gray, coffee brown colors. It was an attractive building, but not for the Belleville Road Overlay District. It just did not, while we do not discourage different types of architecture, a building that completely stands out from everything else around it and not in a good manner is not encouraged. So we did speak with the applicant and they were amenable to modernizing the building while keeping some of the colors traditional. So they have come up with a new architecture. If you see the colored renderings, you will see that the building is now attractive looking while modernizing it, not keeping it the way it currently is. Lighting, as in the case of Chick-fil-A, we have told the applicant to hold off on finalizing their lighting plan till the new illumination standards are in effect. With regard to dumpster enclosure, the dumpster and the shed that is shown on the north west corner of the property is to be clad in brick. The enclosure is to be secured with a steel frame gate faced with a Trex board in a color to be selected by the project manager. At this time, our ordinance requires steel reinforced wooden gates. We do not allow Trex boards to be attached. Maybe in the future, the Planning Commission might consider modifying those standards, but at this time, they have to be wooden gates and they have to be shown on the drawings correctly. Previously, the shed was noted for storage of pallets and boxes. We are not sure why your plan shows water and electricity leads to the shed. So if it is not to be used for storage of food or other materials. It is attached to your dumpster. So if it is not needed, I would refer to the township's engineer. If it's not needed, you really need to remove utility leads to it. It's strictly intended as an accessory structure, not as a principal structure. Signage information has been provided. One of the distinct qualities of the site is it has got a pylon sign, which is a throwback to the 70s. We do not allow pylon signs anywhere in our city. However, this site does have a variance that was granted in 1978. Variance runs with the land in perpetuity. As long as the site is a fast food restaurant owned by McDonald's, the site can remain. If McDonald's leaves, the sign goes with it. So at this time, the applicant is allowed to retain the sign and maintain it. For engineering, I defer to the township engineer. With this applicant too, we have worked with the applicant over the past several months to come up with a site design, a circulation plan, and an architecture that would meet the BROD standards and would be attractive. Our BROD district is coming together really well with all of these new buildings, all of them being modernized with great amenities, with good-looking architecture, and with a lot of landscaping in. And the applicant has been very amenable to working with the township to getting to this point. Our recommendation is that the Planning Commission grant preliminary site plan approval for McDonald's located at 10760 Belleville Road, subject to the 12 conditions listed in the McKenna review letter dated April 12th of 2025. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Kamer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Per usual, with any preliminary site plan review, Fishbeck, at this time, Fishbeck reviews the feasibility of engineering aspects for the site design, but will not conduct or has not conducted a full engineering review until the engineering submittals are made. Similar to the last site or the Chick-fil-A site, because we are on an existing site with the same usage, the public utility replacement is at a minimal. So the water service, the new building will be replacing a portion of the existing 2-inch water service to connect to the existing or to the new building. No other water main modifications are to be made. The applicant's plan for the sanitary service is to propose a new 6-inch sanitary service extending on the north side of the building and connect to the existing service shown that extends under Belleville Road. There will be a new grease interceptor that is also proposed that will connect with the new 6-inch service as well, similar to the last site. We do have some minimal comments about what should be shown in future submittals, but that is all for the sanitary sewer portion. For the stormwater management, the existing site does not appear to have on-site existing stormwater management. I don't know, maybe the applicant can speak on it, whether or not they are connected somehow into a regional detention basin, but currently as provided, does not appear that way. And thus, the applicant is including full removal and then replacement of all storm structures and the addition of an underground detention system that ultimately outlets to the existing storm sewer on the west side of Belleville Road. Based on preliminary looks, the underground storage appears to be sized correctly and under the correct calculations and in the right direction, but again, until engineering, we don't do a full review of the underground storage. One item in here is that we try to tell everybody or explain to everybody is that going through new stormwater management, just to make sure that you are responsible for obtaining the Wayne County construction permit for the stormwater management work. And it is advised that your discussions begin earlier than later because it does take a longer time than most. The only issue or the only comment that we do have, there are some, we did ask the applicant, because this is the second submittal they've had for preliminary, to include an isolator row or a forebay to handle some of that first flush sediment. And the applicant has included an isolator row in their underground detention system, but we ask that they make sure that all the system gets into that isolator row before going into the storage portion of the underground system. Other than that, Fishbeck recommends, or has no other comments, and recommends that the Planning Commission grant McDonald's, based on the site plans dated January 10th, 2025, that's the old site, I think, but subject to our comments based on our letter of April 10th, 2025, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Director Akers.
Chairman, I will review the fire department's letter from April 2nd, 2025. The review was for the tear down and rebuild of the existing McDonald's, and the focus of the review was water supply and fire department access. So with the water supply review, the fire marshal noted that the site was compliant. The required flow of 1,500 gallons per minute has been met by the infrastructure that is existing and proposed on the site. They had also highlighted that the fire department access is compliant. They did note that the emergency vehicle access plan shown in the latest submittal is good, and based on that, they are recommending preliminary site plan approval for the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. And now, a presentation by the applicant. Please introduce yourselves to us, please.
Good evening. Dan Olson, project manager and civil site designer for the project. And with me tonight is Tanya Momchev, who is the area construction manager for McDonald's, overseeing the zoning, permitting, and construction of this restaurant rebuild. So I'll just give a couple of highlights. You guys have covered it really well. I'll just start by saying I appreciate staff's thoroughness and the back and forth that we had, and the ability to come to this point of a compromised site plan, a compromised building that we think will be a very attractive and very functional site for us. So we're excited about the end product as a result of the coordination with staff. So thank you very much for that. And we're excited about the reinvestment in the community and the chance to take down an old restaurant and build a new one and to reinvest in the community. So this is a big deal for us, and we're very excited about the project. As I look through, I want to touch quickly on the site, just a couple of highlights on that. You've gone over most of that already. As I started preparing my thoughts for this evening and what I would share, I noted there's a lot of improvements on the site. So there's a lot of wins from the old site to the new site that we're able to accomplish with this new layout. So as I'm looking at the site plan, increased landscape area was one of the big items that we noted, even though some of the setbacks are not what the code would want them to be, as Vidya explained. There is an increase in that around the site, around the perimeter of the site, and an increase in brand new landscaping across the site as well. Brand new parking lot, as we talked about, so complete tear down of the parking lot and the building, with a brand new building and parking lot with drive-through. We are maintaining the existing access as we described out on Belleville Road, with the exception that we are amenable to restricting the access at the southeast corner of the site to ride out only. We're in agreement that that's probably what it needs. Typically, anytime we're asked to restrict access, it's kind of a challenging thing to give up. It makes a lot of sense here, especially with the side access that we were able to make a part of this site plan. So that driveway on the north side, that was part of our planning process. The easements and agreements are in place and finalized for that. So it's ready for our construction. The agreements are there for us to do that. So that's not a question mark. We know we can move forward with that. So that makes us comfortable to go to the right out on the site. The drive-through functionality, I heard, we're talking about stacking and issues with stacking on site. This site plan is a big improvement from what's there. I think it works well now, but the stacking, as I looked at it, has increased dramatically on site with the 2 drive-through lanes merging into the 1. I did a quick count on that, and we are at, I think, 26 stacking spaces, which is more than enough for a McDonald's. That will serve the site really, really well. And with the side-by-side drive-through, the double drive-through system that we do have here, they've got it down to a science, no surprise, but it's the ability to have 2 locations where you can place that order and not have a single order point that would back up the rest of the drive-through is what we do standard on all our locations. That allows the drive-through to continually flow. So there's a lot of stacking. It's our best drive-through layout in terms of our templates and equipment and things that we have there. Additionally, if there is pressure on the drive-through in terms of maybe an order taking longer for them to give it to them at the present window, as we call it, where someone hands their food, there's multiple parking stalls dedicated to move those vehicles off to the side to keep that drive-through flowing. Additionally, there is a third window, which is, that's if your order is taking long, we'll move a car up, pull them up 30 feet ahead, and they can be served their food from inside the restaurant. So that allows staff to hand that right out the window. It's a good system. We talked a little bit about the trash corral and the rest of the site amenities, obviously fully ADA compliant, brand new pavement, parking lot, utilities. We talked about all the connections are on site with the exception of stormwater detention, and we're in agreement. I don't have any indication that there's a regional basin for this, so it's going under the parking lot, and we've provided that according to Wayne County standards within our lot. And then quickly on the building, we've worked with staff quite a bit on the building, and the colors that you see down in front of me here, the board on the right side are the original colors that were submitted, and all those remain as part of, they're in your packet there in the colored elevation, with the exception of the main brick throughout, changing to the red color on my left side, you're right, to match the surrounding development. That was one of the main concerns that we were able to address. We were able to find a color that works for the township and works for us. So that's the additional sample that's there. With that, I'll conclude my comments here for any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
I guess what everybody wants to know is how long a process is it going to take to rebuild this?
We're just chatting about that. Is no surprise they have that down to a science too. So it's usually, about it's 4 months-ish to tear down and to rebuild. It's pretty quick. And we were talking, I was talking with Ron, we'd love to get it built this year if we can. That's a lofty goal given, the county and some other things that are out in front of us. We know what's up ahead of us, but we're looking forward to working with the township to expedite that as much as we can now that we've gotten the major comments out of the way. And the other thing I'll mention too, as we're talking about that, we're in agreement with the conditions that have been placed on this project as well. So we've signed off, we've talked about that, we're good with all of that as well.
I was wondering if the applicant or staff knows how many different McDonald's iterations have been on the site so far. What building number are we on now?
I don't know. Do you know? Is this just the second one?
I can speak a little bit to it. So the building is around 40 years old. First of all, thank you for pronouncing my name. It was best it's around like 40 years old.
Go to the microphone, please.
Okay, let's try again. So the building is approximately 40 years old, and initially it was the double mansard. Around 2009, 2010, McDonald's did the first effort in modernizing, and that is when we got the arcade building that we're seeing right there, what we call it, right? Like the stone and the terracotta with the RC, people call it French fry. But now we're at our third iteration, so, well, I don't have it with me, but basically we have like different design. As Dan was implying, it's a lot more modern, it's cleaner. We're focusing again like on the arches, we're focusing on the marketing. We're the most recognized brand. That said, again, we always work with the communities. As it was mentioned earlier, we don't want to stand out. We want to fit in it. So this brick building with the colors, and they work beautifully with the, we designed additional arcades. So we're deviating from what a McDonald's product would be. But again, the goal is really to make sense, to fit within the rest of the architecture. And so let's call it the fifth iteration. I'll go with the fifth.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. That answered the question on the building iteration. I remember when that McDonald's was first put in because I got permission to walk to it over Belleville Road to get French fries when I was a little kid. I don't think I'd be walking there now with the way the traffic is. So I want to add that I think that your traffic flow improvements are much appreciated as well on the site. It's going to help, I think, a lot. I got nothing else.
I would agree with that. I mean, I've experienced this. I have a son that loves McDonald's, and we've experienced that site many times, and taking left-hand turns from there actually, he used to work there, but, and he would watch traffic back up from the light all the way past these drives, and people couldn't get out, but they could get in. So that northern drive is huge for this site.
Yeah.
Giving people the ability to travel through along the back of the site up to the light, or actually, if they really wanted to try, they could turn left out at Belleville Road, which would be a challenge. But it's nice to give people now the option to escape the site once they get their fries.
So I drove the site last year.
Yeah.
I did all the turns, and we absolutely need these improvements.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
will not make a left turn ever again.
No.
I had to just see how bad it is.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to ask if the Planning Commission is okay with the RV site reduction to one site on this site and with the proposed deviation for the green belt on the north side that our consultant has proposed.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. The wider drive lanes are better than maybe a reduction in the green belt.
Just one question. Why do you need water and electricity to your dumpster shed?
Yeah, I apologize. I was going to comment on that. So we always run electricity and water to our shed and corral. The water is going to the corral itself just for a hose bib out there. The electricity is going for light in the shed.
Just like.
Just see what's in there.
The light is going to be on the inside, right? It's not going to be on the exterior?
Yeah,
because
just be a switch on the inside, just like a room, yeah.
Okay, because if there's anything on the exterior, we need to see it. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Comments? I like the improvements on the site. I would love to be able to eliminate some of the cuts that we do have on Belleville Road, but looking at your site, I understand that it can't be done. And everything I saw and I thought looked really nice and presentable, except for one thing, that pole sign. And I understand you've got the variance. It's there, it stays with you. But I think Diamondback is the only other place that we have a sign that exists on poles that are above 10 feet. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to note that I would like to thank Specialist Williams for pulling up the BZA records, showing and confirming the not that we didn't think you had the variance, but I was curious to see what the conversations were among the zoning board representatives at the time. And I think at the time in 1978, they were very in favor of having that pole sign and bringing business to the freeway exit at our town. And after 40 years, look at our little Belleville Road overlay district, and McDonald's is one of the first larger national businesses on it. So, yeah, the pole sign's maybe a little bit anachronistic, but I think it's a product of its time. And boy, I am glad I'm not on the BZA in 1978. They had so many agenda items I couldn't believe it.
Yes,
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any from the public? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion concerning this item.
I'd like to make a motion to grant Tanya Mamchev on behalf of owner McDonald's Corporation, preliminary site plan approval for their current location at 10760 Belleville Road. And I'd like to add that the commission has accepted one RV parking space instead of the two, and also have accepted the reduction of the greenbelt space to have a wider drive lane.
Anything concerning the McKenna, Fishbeck, or Fire Marshal letters?
And subject to. The McKenna letter dated April 12th, 2025. Okay, thank you. And the Fishbeck letter dated April 10th, 2025. And the Van Buren Township Fire letter dated April 2nd, 2025. Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Grant, supported by Commissioner Creel. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Bud?
Yes.
Bernie Grant?
Yes.
Peter Creel? Yes. Medina Atchison?
Yes.
Jeff Jar?
Yes.
Brian Cullen?
Yes. You have your preliminary site plan. Looking forward to seeing you for the final.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see in the final. Any deviations from those colors?
I believe the applicant was here for the previous discussion about what happens if they need to change the colors.
Yes. Okay, we're moving ahead, excuse me, to item number 5. 22019, contract welding, preliminary site plan approval. Request by owner Tom Tinsley to construct a 12,000 square foot addition to an existing welding facility. The site is located at 385 Sumter Road. And presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will turn the presentation over to Vidya, our township planner, to go over her staff review letter for the project.
Thank you, Ron. Good evening, members of the commission. So the applicant's request is to construct a 12,000 square foot addition on the west side of an existing one-story industrial building and associated parking lot for office use of the addition. The site has got 5 tax parcel ID numbers on it and is located on the southeast corner of Sumter Road and Industrial Park Drive intersection. Parcels A through D are in Van Buren Township, while parcel E is within City of Belleville. Now, this review is limited strictly to the portion that is in Van Buren Township only. We're not reviewing the portion that is in Sumter. Now, parcels B and D that are along Sumter Road's frontage are zoned C1 General Business, while A and C are zoned M1 Light Industrial. The site is also located within the Sumter Road Overlay District, which the Planning Commission remembers is like a sister district to the Belleville Road Overlay District with higher standards of architecture, site, and building design. With regard to the use, the site is an existing welding business, which has got 91,807 square foot of structures. It is a legal non-conforming use because welding shops are considered heavy, not light industrial. So the existing use of the site is not permitted in the M1 district, nor is it permitted in the Sumter Road Overlay District. So it is an existing legal non-conforming use. The proposed addition is to accommodate manufacturing uses, while the welding is done on site for repair and manufacture of trash enclosures and dump cans. So the ordinance does allow major non-conforming uses and structures expansion, provided it does not exceed 20% of the existing building's square footage. Now, the proposed 12,000 square foot expansion is well within that 20% expansion limit. Hence, the applicant is being allowed to expand it. I need to add a correction. The applicant was, it is my understanding, the applicant was initially interested in starting the project and getting a foundation done, and they just went ahead and built the whole thing anyway. So this is after the fact approval. Second thing is, sorry, outdoor storage in the front yard. So the front portion of the site is in Van Buren, and the rear portion of the site in the city of Belleville. So now the rear portion of the site is all gravel. The front portion has got some gravel and has got some asphalt. So now on the rear portion of the site, it has got 8 to 10 foot stockpiles of materials. Now the site plan does have a note that says the stockpiles have been, the applicant's letter says the stockpiles have been removed, but the site plan still says that the stockpiles shows the stockpiles on there. There's a note saying it's been removed, but they are shown on there as being there. It needs to match. If they are removed, it needs to match. With regard to site plan details, just a note is required. The proposed addition does comply with the dimensional requirements for the M1 district for the portion in Van Buren Township. With regard to site access from Sumter Road, there is a single exhaustive drive off Sumter Road which leads to the proposed parking area for the new addition. Now the width of the access drive is dimensioned as 30 feet on the plan, but if you look at the notes below it, it says it is 26 feet back to back of curb. So it needs to be clarified, is it 30 feet or 26 feet? There must be arrows on the pavement showing lanes of ingress and egress. We typically require that for all big sites so that the paths of circulation are clear. Now, the entrance from the site comes in as a concrete pave because it is for trucks, and the concrete abruptly terminates at the edge of the existing building and leads to gravel surfaces on the rear of the site that is in city of Belleville. It just goes from concrete straight into gravel. Ask the applicant to make any improvements in the city of Belleville. However, we want to know how is the applicant going to prevent deterioration of the concrete where it hits the gravel. We want to make sure they're not building something. Maybe it needs to taper off or something needs to be done so that the concrete blends into the gravel surface when they move into the rear of the site. So some clarification needs to be done so that the applicant is not building something of gravel that will deteriorate really fast. We do need to see truck circulation and maneuvering diagrams. The addition shows 2 overhead doors on the west elevation. West elevation is the one that is actually facing Sumter Road. So we need to see truck maneuvering to these doors without transition from concrete to asphalt for this activity. So the site has got concrete coming in, it changes to asphalt in the parking lot, then it changes into gravel. So at least for the portions that are loading, unloading activity, we would prefer it to be in concrete because of the weight of the trucks. We would like to see a maneuvering diagram for that. With regard to cross-access, at this time, cross-access is not shown. We would like cross-access shown along the front of the parcel to the parcel immediately to its south, because the parcels along the frontage are located in the S-ROD, the Sumter Road Overlay District, and in the future, if the applicant develops the parcels along their frontage for a commercial use, and the parcel to the south is also developed in accordance with S-ROD, just like the B-ROD, we want cross-access between the parcels. Oh. So a stub needs to be shown at this time so that in the future it can be connected to it. So that's what needs to be shown so that it meets the intent of the district. Nobody's connecting to it at this time, but the stub needs to be shown. With regard to emergency service and access, the site plan needs to include, even though we are looking only at the Van Buren portion, this is a big industrial, heavy industrial facility. If there is a fire, Van Buren Township Fire Department will respond, and Van Buren Township Fire Department will be circulating the whole site. They're not going to stop abruptly where Van Buren ends and come back. So we would like to actually see a fire circulation diagram for the entire site so fire trucks can make the whole site. We also defer to the Township Fire Department to review the whole plan. With regard to sidewalks, the plan does show a new sidewalk along the site's frontage on Sumter Road. We are not requiring any pedestrian access to the site due to its industrial nature. This is not a site into which we require pedestrian connectivity at this time. In the future, if the frontage develops for a commercial use, sidewalk connectivity will be reviewed at the time. New construction requires utilities to be placed underground unless deemed impractical by the planning director or planning commission. So the applicant needs to just explain to the satisfaction of the planning commission if any utilities are there to this new building, whether they are underground or above ground. With regard to parking calculations, the site plan includes how many parking spaces are there, but the calculations do not differentiate between the uses, which part is manufacturing, if there is any warehousing, if there is any office use. It would appear that the site does not have enough parking, which is fine, but if the applicant can show with enough data that these are the number of employees, this is the amount of manufacturing, so this is all the parking need for the site is, and the site's parking needs are met by the parking that is there, the planning commission can officially grant that deviation, just like you do for other sites. So we would like that noted over here. For the ordinance, based on the amount of parking over here, 3 barrier-free parking spaces are required, handicap accessible spaces. This cannot be waived because this is a federal ADA requirement. There are only 2 handicap accessible spaces shown. Our recommendation is that the 3rd handicap accessible space be shown near a pedestrian entrance for the manufacturing or for the office building. And if this handicap accessible space is shown, a ramp must be shown, or at least show that the door is at the same level so somebody coming out in a wheelchair can actually enter the building. That needs to be shown clearly. Parking spaces. The required parking spaces are dimensioned. The width of the proposed parking spaces are not shown. All of the spaces are required to be double striped. The entire new parking lot that is shown on the site plan is located within Van Buren Township. The parking spaces are also located right next to the building. We recommend that bumper blocks be provided so that if people pull too far ahead, they don't hit the building. Loading spaces are shown. The ordinance has landscaping requirements. For the most part, the applicant has attempted to provide required landscaping under the SROD regulations along the frontage. However, a little bit additional landscaping is required to meet the ordinance requirements, specifically interior parking lot landscaping. If you look at the proposed addition, immediately west of the proposed addition, there is a huge grassy area. The applicant does have room to plant additional trees in this area to meet ordinance standards, and that will also help screen the industrial use from Sumter Road itself. So there is room on the site to put in a few additional trees to meet the ordinance requirements. With regard to loading area screening, the ordinance requires that all loading areas must be screened from public right-of-way or a residential district. Now, the 2 loading zones within the township are adequately screened from view of Sumter Road by existing evergreens. Now, the area to the north abuts Industrial Park Drive that's located in the city of Belleville. It's partially screened. There is a chain link fence and some scrub vegetation. So if the Planning Commission feels that this is an industrial drive and the existing vegetation and chain link fence are adequate, you can accept it and waive the requirement at this time, with the understanding that in the future, if this parcel is redeveloped in accordance with a use that fits in the SROD district, landscaping will be provided in accordance with the ordinance standards. At this time, it has got existing scrub vegetation which meets the intent of the ordinance. Similarly, greenbelt buffer adjacent to M1. The property to the south is M1. It is, however, not a used parcel. It does not have an industrial use on it. It is significantly wooded. We are not requiring a greenbelt at this time. If the parcel to the south is redeveloped or developed, a greenbelt will have to be installed on the subject site. We are not talking about it triggering a greenbelt requirement on the neighbor's site. The neighbor will have to provide their greenbelt, but the applicant will have to provide a greenbelt on their site if the neighbor's parcel gets redeveloped. We are not making the applicant put in the greenbelt at this time because there is nobody to their south, and there is already some amount of vegetation or scrub vegetation on that property. Water detention, defer to the township engineer. Not sure if there is any mechanical equipment on the ground. If so, screening to it needs to be shown if it's located within Van Buren Township portion. With regard to lighting, just want to know if there is any new light fixtures on the office portion. And if there are any existing fixtures, just add a shield or replace them with new shielded fixtures. We need to see the cut sheet detail. With regard to Sumter Road Overlay District, while the proposed project is an expansion of an existing non-conforming industrial use, the other aspects of the SROD district are still applicable. I mean, it is an existing non-conforming use. The use cannot be changed. But that does not remove the fact that it is still located within our SROD, and the other standards, to the extent feasible, must be met with. The first one is bicycle parking. 1 bicycle space is required for every 25 vehicle spaces. Although it is an industrial expansion, the site's frontage is fully commercial. The parcels in the front are fully commercial. There is no timeline for development of those parcels at this time. So the Planning Commission may require bicycle parking at this time along the site's frontage to maintain the Sumter Road corridor connectivity. If there was a plan in the foreseeable future for those parcels being developed, you could have deferred the bicycle parking until such time that those are developed. But there is no such plan at this time. So it is a green space. Right now, those front lots are green space. There is going to be new landscaping installed by the applicant. So if somebody is driving down Sumter Road and it's a place to like park and rest because additional amenities are being provided, a bicycle rack would go towards creating that Sumter Road corridor amenity requirement. No amenities or public spaces are proposed as part of the proposal. While we are not expecting as an industrial use any major amenities to be provided, small, low-impact amenities such as decorative pavers near pedestrian access point or some low-impact public art could be considered based on the location and the use. With regard to architecture, the applicant has provided detailed elevations and alternate elevations. They have shown 2 different types of elevations in your packet. They have been provided showing split-face masonry block on all sides with metal cladding and roof panels above. Now, the alternate elevation demonstrates additional character that is more human-scaled because it shows glazing on the front, which is the west and on the south facades, with awnings over the front doors, and decorative lighting is also shown. The alternate elevation that is shown is more in keeping with the SROD than the main elevation that is provided. So we are not sure which elevation has actually been constructed at this point by the applicant, but we would recommend that the alternate facade be the one implemented. If the applicant has constructed the original facade, the alternate facade shouldn't be too difficult to retrofit. It's just addition of a few awnings and a few window cuttings on top. It's pretty much the same, but with a few additions. 4-foot chain link fence is shown across the front yard with the gate access drive. We are deferring engineering to the township's engineer. We do understand that most of the improvements have been completed, even though the applicant was issued only a foundation permit and the site is fully in use. There are several outstanding items that require clarification or correction by the applicant, but these are not likely to alter the overall layout of the site. I know the Planning Commission would be concerned when you see that our recommendation for preliminary site plan approval comes with 17 conditions attached to it. The reason is we have been working with the applicant for a really long time to even get to this point. We believed if the applicant appeared before you tonight, there was a discussion and the Planning Commission gave clear direction with an itemized list as these are the things that must be done. It would provide the applicant with more clear direction on exactly what they need to come back before you with for final site plan approval. That is the reason it is before you with our recommendation for preliminary site plan approval for contract buildings, building addition located at 385 Sumter Road. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Kamer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As once again, at preliminary site plan review phase, Fishbeck examines and reviews the feasibility of the engineering aspects of the site design, but will not conduct full engineering review till the engineering review submittal. With many of these sites today, this being an expansion or an addition to an existing site, the public utility work is to a minimal. And the one thing that I will say is that there was some confusion as to the water main improvements on the site. The submitted water main extension plans were dated December 13th, 2024, and did not match the building addition site plans dated October 22nd, 2024. The additional site plans, or I'm sorry, the water main extension plans called for new hydrants in close proximity to the existing hydrants along the northern building, while the additional site plans did not show the proposed hydrants and only showed knock boxes for the fencing to access the hydrants. There's hydrants that run along the northern fence line. So we need some clarification from the applicant as to what plans are those that are holding true. Whether it is, as I said, there's, let me see, hold on. The water main extension plans that were prepared by Vittens Engineering and dated December 13th, 2024 versus the building plans, which are dated October 22nd, 2024. As far as like an engineering review on that, both plans show proper engineering as far as the taps and the necessity for knock boxes on the gate or the fence gates. However, it's unclear as to which of those is the correct version and final decision as to how the hydrants are going to be accessed. The sanitary sewer, the applicant needs to confirm that the existing service line does not conflict with the foundation, which, hopefully that would be determined by now if the foundation is already in. Stormwater management. So early on in some of the staff review, it was determined that the existing site is part of the regional detention pond as part of the Victoria, or regional retention pond as part of the Victoria Commons system. Which is to the east. This was something that was confirmed as part of that staff review. So there is no on-site detention, but they do discharge into that Victoria Commons system. With that, based on the preliminary layout, they are not increasing their impervious area. They're actually adding grass to previous gravel area in the front of the lot. And that said, the applicant needs to confirm that their C factor, their amount of impervious space, that their calculations match the current design. The values listed in the tables did not appear to have been changed from the previously submitted set, and the current design includes asphalt pavement, which would change that overall calculated C. With the regional detention pond, you're looking for them to not change that value so that we understand, or that they're discharging the same rate of runoff to that regional pond. Per Wayne County standards, any development or redevelopment project with a land disturbance of 1.0 acres or larger, or creates or replaces a half acre of impervious area are subject to county review. So the applicant is going to be, or the applicant is responsible to confirm with the county whether or not they need to go through that county review. Typically on a net zero stormwater change, we don't, the county won't require it, but if it does meet these land disturbance areas of an acre or more, then typically they would. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of engineering to be reviewed at this point. They show the right things in the right places, and as long as it's built per how they show, Fishbeck recommends that the Planning Commission can grant contract welding, building addition, preliminary site plan approval, subject to the comments listed in our letter dated April 10th, and confirming that the plans shown on their October 22nd, 2024 submittal are indeed the correct plans moving forward. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Akers.
We'll go through our Van Buren Township Fire Department letter dated April 3rd, 2025. They completed the review for the contract welding at 385 Sumter Road. The focus of the review is fire department water supply. The current status that they had mentioned in the plan is that they are recommending approval. They had made comments that the fire department supply is compliant. The latest water main extension submittal, which C1, shows 2 fire hydrants entering from the water main located north of the property. Those hydrants will be supplied from a 6-inch ductile iron water main. So with that, the fire department is recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. The applicant. Please come up and introduce yourself and let us know what's going on. Okay.
Take your time.
Yeah. We've been here a while. An extra 30 seconds or
Not gonna
2
hurt us.
minutes isn't going to hurt.
Not gonna bug us.
So, I don't know any of this computer crap, so I can't help you there. So this is we're starting our 61st year. We've been.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Tom from Contract Welding, Tinsley. And I've worked for the family business all my life. We're in our 61st year, just started. Which I was just trying to figure out back there on how many years we were actually, we started out on Michigan Ave for a couple years, but then when I was really small, we moved to Yost Road by Thompson McCulley actually put a building up for my dad. And then it was kind of funny, but I remember they were doing track replacements or something when they used to rebuild tracks, and I was to pick up these bolts or nuts, and it would come off really hot. And I remember to this day picking up a hot nut off this underneath. But that's before child labor and all that kicked in. So. But I've been working this all my life. And this is probably if Yost Road, I believe the south side of Yost Road's in Van Buren Township. So this is our 3rd location. Then we moved to Here Never Drive for a few years. And then in the probably, I see everything by the grade I was in. So in 4th grade, we moved to the location we're at now. And I'm 63, so if that tells you anything. So, but other than that, what would you like to know?
Commissioners, what happened?
So, right. So just to let you know, so this whole thing started out, I had somebody representing me, and then, I'd see these, these notes come from the township, and I just look at it, and it's like, Peter, take care of it. Peter, take care of it. Peter, take care of it. Until one day, I saw something that it said that we don't go by someone's construction manager, we go by the township rules. And when I looked at that, I said, okay, that's over. And up until that point, I was lackadaisical. I wasn't handling anything. I was letting somebody else do it. And then we had Miss Brittany had us, said we need a meeting, and she's doing a great job for you, I'll tell you that. And then that's when I just said, okay, everything I've been told, I got to go by the rules. So, and these are the new rules, the Sumter Overlay Project and all that, or whatever it's called, corridor or whatever you call it. And so I guess we're number 1 on Sumter Road going southbound. So, and then that's why, so I always looked at it and I was told that, hey, we're just replacing a building. But then it gets to the point where, no, it's a redevelopment. And it's like, no, we're not redeveloping. We're just replacing a dilapidated building that's falling down. It's got holes in the roof. It was an old pole barn, 8,000 square foot pole barn. And but with everything all said and done, we got to do it the right way, and that's what I'm here for. I don't agree with some of it, but it doesn't matter what I think. We got to do whatever the rules are.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Through the chair. I do
Yes.
Jim, I'm a little confused, I guess. So there was no preliminary site plan approval granted, but there was a permit that was issued for foundations?
Yes.
Okay, Based on what?
So
Thing is the entire building built at this point?
It's built to a point that we gotta stop until, I've got it to the point where it's got a roof on it. We put some temporary lighting in there, and then that's it. We're stopped right there, and we're waiting
Just
to go.
wonder, how do you get that far on just a foundation permit? And how do you get inspections done when you don't have a full building permit?
So, I mean, I guess the part that I can answer with the foundation permit is that there was I guess we'll call it a past practice where we had allowed projects where, you know, they were coming up against the season to basically pull a permit to install a foundation. They'd give us a cash bond for removal, and then the permit was issued with the stipulation that, you know, you needed to go through the planning commission process, you needed to obtain site plan approval, and you know, it was basically at your own risk. So that was how the foundation permit was issued. I mean, I can tell you, I talked to our building official today, you know, the foundation was inspected, the footings were inspected, all of that was verified and inspected.
And that's where it should have stopped, is what you're telling me. So now we have a full building that we, as commissioners, being put into a position where it's completed, but yet it was never approved.
Correct.
And my concern is precedence, right?
The foundation permit is no longer a current practice in the department.
The department head has changed, right?
Yes.
At the very least.
Through the chair, I have a problem saying we're gonna grant them a preliminary approval for a building that's already built. It needs to be, in my eyes, it needs to be reworded so it's not saying for this building, because it's already built. So can we approve a preliminary for a building that's already built? Because I don't like people reading minutes to think, oh, this guy's building a building. He's already got the building there.
If I may, preliminary site plan approval would be not just for the building commissioner, but your preliminary site plan approval would cover the whole site also. So no part of the site has been approved or anything, like the improvements Mr. Tinsley said, all the landscaping in front, the circulation, the parking striping, none of that is done. So yes, the building is there, but none of the site design. So when you're giving preliminary site plan approval, the building is just one aspect of it. The rest of it all
Right,
is also
but
there.
it says to construct a building. That's my problem.
Good.
We're asking to approve a violation.
Preliminary violation.
I mean, I would like to see it worded someplace different, so somebody
you're saying.
looking at this does not know that he's building a building. I'm more than willing to work with him, because I know it's there, but somehow, I don't like reading minutes that are saying this guy is we're giving him permission to build a building that he's already built. So if we can reword that, I'm good with it.
Well,
How
it's
does
it's
that
not
save
complete,
us?
right?
Yeah, it's not complete, exactly.
I mean, I think, I think they stopped once he realized, and I'm putting words in your mouth. But I think once he realized that it was not going correctly via approval through the township in the correct way, he's trying to correct it. So I have some sympathy. I agree with Treasurer Bud that maybe we have to word it the right way. How do we get him back on track? I think this is the right way to do that, to make sure that the landscaping requirements, the lighting requirements, the parking lot requirements, all that get done with the new building. Because I mean, I hate to see him punished for somebody else's mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It's not all his, it's my fault too. It's just, let's get it going. I had the guys lined up, let's go. This thing didn't happen, the permits didn't happen, and it's like, you know.
Maybe,
Chairman, could I ask, it's an addition on a building, right? It's not a whole standalone building?
I believe so, isn't it?
We removed an 8,000 square foot building. That was a wood structure, and put up a steel structure with all the, I don't know what you call it, the split face block or whatever. We're trying to do everything to and then with all the other windows or whatever they want for the.
Mr. Chairman,
to
I'd
look-
ask staff to maybe clarify for me, though. The title of the request is the request to construct a 12,000 square foot addition to an existing welding facility. But normally, the title in a preliminary site plan approval would have read something more like a request by the owner, Tom Tinsley, to construct a 12,000 square foot addition to an existing welding facility and associated site plan improvements, right? And really what we're asking for is the corresponding site
And
plan
the-
improvements
yeah.
and the building. So it's
Yeah.
not just a building, but there's a whole lot of site plan improvements. It just isn't represented in the title. I mean, the title makes it look like we're granting just a building. This is a pretty good sized site plan improvement, right?
The title is not necessarily phrased to be all-inclusive. It is understood when it's a title. So I see the concern of the Planning Commission. If I may suggest, if the wording, what you want to make sure that somebody reading the minutes, it does not give the impression that you're perfectly fine with approving and after the fact approval and setting a precedent, basically saying it's okay to build something and then come here and get approval. So if you're going to make a motion to appear to give the first step of approval, you can always quantify it by saying, the Planning Commission makes note that the 12,000 square foot addition has at this time already been constructed prior to seeking necessary approvals. However, the petitioner has been informed that the correct process has not been followed and has at this time applied to appear before the Planning Commission seeking the necessary approvals. Therefore, the Planning Commission is reviewing the plan as submitted from this point forward and granting preliminary site plan approval subject to these conditions with no more work to be done until the applicant completes all the steps and appears for final site plan approval.
I say.
Isn't that what I just asked? Yeah.
Making it clear that you're not setting a precedent that nobody else thinks they can build and say, oops, I did it.
Well, but, through the chair. Yes. I don't think this could happen again. Based on what I'm hearing from staff, from Director Akers, is that there was a foundational permit issued based on criteria of weather and, freezing, I'm sure, whatever. But that practice is not happening in the township anymore.
Commissioner Creel, you'll be surprised. The next person won't even pull a foundation
Right,
permit.
right.
They'll build it
Exactly.
and come and say,
But that's,
That's right,
respectively, that's different, though.
in the same way.
in the same way.
That would be a violation, that would be a different violation.
Still a violation. Because the bottom line is,
Yeah.
they only got a permit to do foundation, nothing else.
Agree.
And quite frankly, it should have probably never made it above that foundation in a lot of respects, from a lot of different fronts. So what we're being really truly asked to do, because I know the process, is that we're being asked to break that process and make an exception.
Done here was not correct, but Mr. Tinsley, since he was made aware of it, has been trying to work with us. And the reason why it is before you with 17 conditions is, I thought it would be helpful for Mr. Tinsley to have an itemized list, fix this, 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 and he has been working with us to try to get this straight. And from this point, I think it'll be easier to have an itemized list, say, double stripe every parking space, make this concrete. It'll be easier for him to get to the finish line. So is this the right way to do it? No. But does Mr. Tinsley know this was not the right way to do it? Yes. Is he trying to get it to the right point? Yes. So that is the reason why I was comfortable bringing it before you tonight to help.
Then we wouldn't have any recourse anyways at this point, do we? Other than to him take the building down and
That's the
then
only thing.
come to us with a,
There's always recourse, but it's never pretty.
I didn't think so. And I'm not suggesting that he do that. I don't want to put him through that. He's,
I
but,
would
I
not
mean-
support that. And I want to, through the chair, I want to also say that we're doing these what-ifs again. What if the world ends tomorrow? What if the next applicant comes in and he doesn't pull a foundation? We understand all of those what-ifs. We can't count something that hasn't happened. And I appreciate all the what-ifs, but at the end of the day, we are here to move forward, okay? If you want to try to tear down the building, like our consultant has said, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to, but do I want these things to happen? Of course not. None of us do. None of us do. But we do, to Treasurer's Bud's suggestion, the wording has to be proper, okay? And then the itemized list, if our consultant is saying, we're gonna hold them accountable, this is preliminary again, he's got 17 items to work through before before he comes before us for final site plan approval.
Right.
And
No,
again, we
my,
need the planning commission here to make these judgment calls, but we also have our consultant.
point was, is I would not want Mr. Tinsley to go and tear down the building. My question and point was, what is our other recourse? That would be the only other recourse I think we would have.
Well,
And I want him to feel comfortable that, oh, there's a mistake made, and now I'm here to rectify it. He's coming in a lot better than a couple of the others that we have had that have made mistakes in the last couple of years that we have had to rectify.
I think there needs to be, it seems to me there needs to be language to the effect that we're being asked to make an exception, because I don't think we should be being made to ask to break the rules, right? There's a rule break here. But we should be asked to make an exception as the planning commission to the process.
So, one thing I guess I kind of want to clarify is that, when we do ordinance enforcement cases, our goal is always compliance with the code. I mean, the fines and some of the other procedures are tools that we use to, for lack of a better way of saying it, force compliance with the code. If they were building this building from scratch, they'd be coming before the planning commission asking permission anyway, but it is still technically going through this process and obtaining this approval for the location of the building is part of the process and is what's required by our code. This conversation would be much different if the building didn't meet any of the setbacks, didn't meet any of the height standards, it didn't meet any of the conditions or compliance of the ordinance. Because, then at that point, the planning commission would not have the authority to approve this. However, but because this is part of our site plan review process, this is something that they need to do to move forward with it. It's like, yes, it shouldn't have happened that way. And we're making internal changes to make sure that it doesn't, and on our end, but, and we can word this any way the planning commission feels most comfortable with. We can certainly do that, but it is part of that approval process that needs to occur.
Like to add to what Ron said, this planning commission is not granting an exception. You're not doing that, because if this were a code enforcement issue and Mr. Tinsley were issued a stop work order or a ticket, his next logical process would have been appearing before you to get approval. So he is following the process. It's just in the wrong order, but he is following the process that this should have come before you, but
Not entirely, because in order to get a full building permit, you have to go through this process, and he's been building this as though he has had a full building permit.
But the terminology you used, Commissioner Grant, that you're being asked to grant an exception, you're not being asked to grant an
maybe it's a different-
exception. Exception
maybe-
is not the correct terminology over here.
Right, but we're being asked to do something doesn't follow the process. It's a linear process, right, for the most part, and we're not doing that. I mean, we know it's a violation. I'm just saying that we just got to make sure that I'm not denying it. I'm just saying that the language has to be such
Which is why I suggested the language acknowledging that the normal process has not been followed, but Mr. Tinsley is now applying to follow the process correctly, and which is why the Planning Commission acknowledges that a violation has taken place, and now a process is being followed in order for the preliminary approval, and no other work will be done till the work is completed. So I think the previous language that I suggested covers the Planning Commission's position very well in stating that you're not going to make this a habit. That's basically what you want to do. While Mr. Tinsley I have worked with Mr. Tinsley on this project long enough to know that He wants to do it. It's just that this whole process is very, very different to him. He did not really understand what this process was. It took some explanation. I have dealt with other applicants who know the process and who willfully choose not to follow it. And I have handled those very differently in my experience in 26 years. So I know this will go to the next step, but like Ron said, he's put checks and balances in place that such a situation will not arise in the future.
The only other thing I want to add too is with the building and the structure, like, you know, he's not gonna get a pass on that. You still have to submit a building plan and it still has to be inspected, and there's still, you know, and we'll have to, if there are things that are covered up that shouldn't have been covered up, that weren't inspected, those will be inspected.
Right. I do understand. Full building permit, anything that wasn't inspected needs to be inspected, uncovered to be inspected. I know it'll go through the full route, which, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying we gotta make sure that it doesn't appear to everyone else that's, you know, that's in Van Buren Township that we're not making, you know, that we're just accepting something without having the right language, the proper language, that's all.
We did have, like, with the concrete, every load was checked, it was all engineered, we have all the documentation, if that'll help you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jar.
I have a question for staff.
Yes.
This is an existing legal non-conforming use on the zoned site. Now, I'm not a professional site plan reviewer, although I've got a lot of experience looking at them. It sure looked to me like this is within, you know, a delta of 17 points, a fairly compliant, conforming site plan. You aren't asking us to approve a non-conforming site plan, right?
No, that's what I said. The conditions I have placed are not going to alter the site layout or anything. These are small things like add in a few more trees, put in a bike rack, put in a cross-access easement, which is basically just a legal recording saying that in the future, if ever the front is developed, you will allow the future development to connect. Acknowledge in writing that if ever the parcel to the south is developed, which may happen in 10 years, which may happen in 20, that you'll put in the green belt to protect them. Items like that. Nothing is going to alter where the building is located, where the parking is going to be located. So I'm comfortable enough saying that the site as it's laid out today can proceed.
Yeah, to me, that's not the issue.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also then ask, I have a couple of other questions relating to the site plan. Doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that the building showed up before, but just relating to the site plan. How many newly developed or redeveloped sites have we done in the Sumter Road Overlay District to date? Do we know?
Well, this would be the
This is the
second
second one?
Distractor supply.
Okay. Without the building issue, just this being a preliminary site plan coming in, this being the second one in the Sumter Road Overlay District, and that being a relatively new process, I would say that I would expect there to be more points on the preliminary site plan approval, simply because there have been so few sites that have gone through the SROD, do we call it SROD? Whatever, the Sumter Road Overlay District process. And, yeah, unfortunately, that is what we call it. And so to 17 points of contention on a preliminary site plan is like, that's okay. But when it's the second one in a new district, well, that's actually pretty good.
Challenging because
And
it's
it
located
is-
in 2 jurisdictions.
It is a very complex site that is an existing non-conforming use, so I think that the applicant and staff are doing a pretty good job of trying to get the site plan to be conformant with what the vision needs to be. And I think that, Mr. Tinsley, if you're willing to go along with the SROD requirements and follow the process and be the second person to do that, I really feel like that's an admirable thing, and is something that we should, I know I would be in favor of helping you do that by making sure it's done well. That said, there was a request to waive the requirement for the fencing until such time as the site use changes.
No, the 2 waivers I requested was the green belt along the south property line for the Van Buren portion, which is a very short stretch,
Yeah.
until the parcel to the south is developed. Right now, there's no development
We
on it.
can do
it's
that
wooded.
outside of a site redevelopment? We can put that as a condition?
Yes, because the green belts are within your jurisdiction to waive until a future date. And the other is the green belt along the north side, which borders Industrial Drive. There is a chain link fence and there is existing vegetation. It's a little scraggly, but it's there. It does screen this building.
Okay.
Property as part of Davenport's.
Yeah, oh, it's part of Industrial Drive, so
Oh,
the
okay.
fences.
And then there was a parking requirement for showing that the parking was required. I want to add that in new development, if it was a brand-new site, we rely on the guidance of our parking manuals and our rules to tell us, well, we don't know what kind of restaurant you are, but we know in general this is the parking for a restaurant. In this case, it's an existing non-conforming use. The man's still in business. He has adequate parking. It's pretty demonstrable that the parking numbers are probably accurate. If you could provide some documentation and not skip the documentation step this time, we'd really appreciate that. But I'm saying as a planning commissioner, I could be behind a waiving of the parking as recommended, with documentation, but as recommended by our planning commission. I'm okay with that.
Is parking, but we moved it all to, because of problems within the township, we moved it all to the city of Belleville. So the building is,
And it is a complex site. I think we understand that, yeah.
and so it's like, we'll just park in the city of Belleville. It's really easy. Just to let you know, we kind of keep it up to the front side of the property, just so we can see when people are leaving, or stealing, or, not that we have any thieves, but.
Mr. Chair, I have a question directly to the applicant, if I could ask it through the chair.
Absolutely.
Through the chair, what's your opinion on providing some public art or other amenities as recommended by our applicant, by our consultant, and as required by the SROD district?
Like up front?
Yeah, like up front.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, bike racks, we're a welding shop, so we can build bike racks for you.
You know, something, amenities can be
Yeah.
a bench or an art, whatever you consider under the amenities, there's a whole bunch of options.
See what you have in mind, and then, because I don't have any imagination for that, but if you had it,
Shop, we have an imagination.
I've seen a lot of welded public art, was really the point that I was trying to make, sir, that, you know, if that's something that you can do to up the front and you're okay with it, and I believe that you're trying to do your best to bring your site into compliance.
seen the art costs on what it's costing the DDA and everything, and I tell you what, I'd love to build that stuff. Most of it's just junk from out back. and-
Oops.
Well, I really have no comment to the applicant as to the, we're not getting into a discussion on art. This is about procedure and preliminary site plan review. I really don't have any other things to add to the comment, except that for a preliminary site plan review, forget about the building for a moment already being there. If this was just a de novo site plan review, I think I'm with the consultant. I think the applicant is doing the right thing.
I'm sorry.
I'm just digressing here, but if you would like to make a submission to the DDA for your bike racks that you could do, I believe the township is, and the DDA is supposed to grant you like within 20% of the job.
Everything
So
we've
just another
right.
FYI for you.
Everything we've ever done for the city of Belleville or the township's all been free.
I'm talking about
Future?
Van Buren Township,
Yeah.
not the city of Belleville.
Township, we've done some things for the township
I
we haven't
can't
paid or haven't charged for. And it's not, I'm not looking for favors, it's just like, and they always, through the city of Belleville, hey, we'd like to present, it's like, I don't need it. Don't tell anybody I did it, I don't need to know.
I didn't mean to digress, please. Treasurer Bud.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I guess I would like to have the front part of the motion, if that's all right with everybody else. The wording that Vidya had.
Put forward.
Yeah, I'm sure, have you got it?
Recording secretary have it?
Let the recording secretary indicated it was recorded.
And I do want to say, I've driven by, I go down Sumter Road probably 2-3 times a week. It really looks nice. Your front is clear. It looks good. But trying to improve the southern end of town to make it more appealing to people to stop. Yeah, so,
Now, we weren't before.
yeah. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of good businesses that probably weren't the best for appearance sake, and we lost both Stan's and Martin's. But from that, do we have any public comment? Comment? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion concerning this item.
Mr. Chair, I could make the motion.
Go for it.
At this time, I would move to grant owner Tom Tinsley the preliminary site plan approval to construct a 12,000 square foot addition to an existing welding facility, along with additional site plan improvements.
No, I think,
Noting, I'm gonna get to that part. She wanted
I
it
think
first.
Commissioner Bud did not want that specific phrasing that you just used.
Okay.
She wanted the phrasing I recommended.
I'll update that. Mr. Chairman, I retract the beginning of that motion, and I'll
Okay.
start again.
I liked her wording because
I
it
was gonna
granted
include
the
it,
building
but
without
I'll get it
saying-
in there
yeah,
for you.
okay.
Mr. Chairman. I move to grant the owner, Tom Tinsley, in accordance with the verbiage presented to us from our consultant, Ms. Krishnan, and the commission finding that to be adequate, preliminary site plan approval for his site at the existing welding facility located at 385 Sumter Road. This being based on a thorough analysis and subject to the conditions in the letters presented tonight, those being McKenna, April 16th, 2025, Fishbeck from April 10th, 2025, and Van Buren Township Fire of April 3rd, 2025. Also noting that the Planning Commission is in favor of the Greenbelt modifications presented in the McKenna letter, humbly submitted for the commission's support.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner,
Excuse, I thought we were supposed to say in this that the planning commission makes note that the correct process has not been properly submitted.
Mr. Chairman?
That
her
came
verbiage.
from her, and I'm
That
gonna.
was part of her
We
verbiage.
will get that from Tina to put in where he said what he said about somebody else doing something else.
Which we will never control.
Right.
Earlier from this agenda.
It'll be part, I mean, I'm hoping it'll be part of the motion. Yeah.
we have a motion by Commissioner
else doing
Jar,
something else?
supported by Commissioner Creel. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Further discussion.
I have to say something. No, I'm not, I'm for this, by the way. No, I just think that Van Buren Township itself is part of this as well. And that we just need to improve our process of monitoring sites under construction, so it's not all on you.
Okay, with that, any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Bernie Grant,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Peter Creel,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Jeff Jar. Brian Keller.
Yes. We've granted the first step in your process.
Well, thank you so much.
Sorry, next time we'll try to get you at the beginning of the,
No,
with
I'd
you
rather-
sitting through all this, we'll.
Be second to the end.
But yes, you have your preliminary site plan. Okay, item number 6. Case number 25016, Upland Homes Country Walk, site plan amendment. The applicant, Upland Homes, is requesting an amendment to the approved Country Walk subdivision site plan for a revised single-family architectural elevation. The site is located north of Savage Road, east of Martinsville Road, and west of Lenmore Ave. We have first up, presentation from township staff, Director Akers.
Turn it over to our specialist, Brittany Williams.
The applicant, Upland Homes, is requesting an amendment to the approved Country Walk development to allow one new model architectural elevation titled Winslow to be built in the subdivision. The proposed model will be built in Country Walk development. The staff's review of the architectural plan based on the conditions in the MOU and the PRD agreement. My review included site plan, floor area, facade elevations, building materials, side entry garages, with the recommendation as follows. I recommend that the Planning Commission approve the site plan amendment to the Country Walk development for the addition of the proposed elevation Winslow to be built by Upland Homes based with the following conditions. Township staff shall review each application for a new single-family home in the Country Walk development in order to determine that the new home meets the required setbacks and that the elevation meets the township's substantially different architectural design standards set forth in the PRD agreement. 2, township's planning staff will evaluate all plot plan submittals for these home models to ensure they meet the minimum required 10-foot side yard setback. Thank you.
Thank you. And presentation by the applicant.
Hello, I'm Nick Kunzman with Upland Homes. Brittany, thank you for the presentation. It's nothing too crazy. It's a 1,700 square foot ranch, mostly brick on the outside, and then a little bit of vinyl siding on the gables. We got ridge vents going on the roof, a dimensional shingle, some really nice exterior features that are definitely a step above many of the other builders at that price point. I feel that the ranch fits in with the community and the other houses very well. I think it looks quite nice. I do have the elevations here. If anybody wants to see, I can hold them up. That's pretty much it.
Okay, commissioners, comments?
Through the chair, really glad that a builder, developer has decided to build some ranches in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. They are they're selling well and they are needed, and it's surprising that so many builders are building so many colonials and not as many ranches. I guess they are harder to fit on the lots and whatnot, but we're selling to young people and retired folks, and people really like the ranches.
Our community age in place, with that ranch. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair, that was going to be my comment. I like the looks of the house. And of course, at my age, I like something that spreads out instead of going up.
I agree. I like that too.
As well as the fact of a side entry garage on it.
I know.
We're not seeing that garage door.
I'm wondering if the applicants presented it to the HOA.
I don't know.
No.
Okay.
Just curious.
Are you anticipating like they'd have an issue?
If there's any feedback. I think it's a very attractive house model.
Agreed. Anybody else, comments?
I think it'd be a good addition to the subdivision.
Yes. Again, ranch home. Do we have anybody from the public that wants to comment? Anyone? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion concerning this item.
Through the chair. I guess I'll take this one.
Commissioner Grant.
I'd like to make a motion to grant Upland Homes Country Walk the site plan amendment that they request to the approved Country Walk subdivision site plan. Again, to revise the single-family architectural elevation sites located north of Savage Road, east of Martinsville Road, and west of Lenmore Avenue. And I believe we had a letter too, right? And subject to the letter from Van Buren Township dated April 15th, 2025.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Grant, supported by Commissioner Creel. Do we have any discussion concerning the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Medina Atchison? Peter Creel? Bernie Grant?
Yes.
Sherry Budd?
Yes.
Jeff Jar?
Yes.
Brian Cullen?
Yes. You have your elevation. You're welcome.
Long time for a short review.
Yes.
We appreciate your patience.
I ran in here because I was 2 minutes late. It could have been a few more minutes late.
Okay, any general discussion, updates?
Got a few things. Wanted, just this is a reminder, so we have a town hall on, or a community open house on April 30th. That's next Wednesday here at Township Hall. That is for our housing master plan, our housing zoning update items. So if you get the chance to show up, we'll be here. It starts at 6 p.m. And then we also, on Thursday, we are going to have another open house meeting for a potential development that is looking to go on Ecorse Road between Denton Road and Beck Road.
Are you tomorrow, Thursday?
No,
You said Thursday.
Thursday, May 1st. So the Thursday, so next Thursday. And I believe that is going to run, I believe that's also 6 to 8, but I'll have to confirm it. But I believe it's 6 to 8.
And that's also in this room here, I think I read that.
Also be at this room here. So for upcoming meeting on May 14th, we do have a handful of items. There's going to be some zoning ordinance updates. We're going to have a public hearing on our sign lighting or sign changes and our proposed lighting ordinance changes. We're going to have zoning ordinance amendment discussions on some amendments for gas stations. Video, are we doing best on the 28th or the 14th? I think it was the 28th, wasn't it? 28th. So that, not best. And then we're going to have 2 minor site plan amendments. One is for a facade change for Autolab. And then the other is going to be a site plan extension for Subaru. And so other than that, the only other thing I want to highlight is that the township board at the last meeting granted some engineering variances for the detention ponds at Tractor Supply and Sheets. These are due to the differences in our engineering standards versus the Wayne County standards. I've talked to Mr. Kamer, and we're going to be, over the next probably 4 or 5 months, we're going to be looking at updating some of our engineering standards to make sure that our standards are similar to Wayne County's. So that way we don't have some of those issues anymore. But other than that, that's all I got.
Commissioner Jar.
Mr. Chair, Director Power used to give us a yearly sort of an update on the Subaru site's wildflower water garden, pollination garden. Since they are going to be a subject of the upcoming meeting, could we maybe get an update of how the bees are doing?
That, yeah.
I mean, you know, or whatever, how their garden is going, right?
Would the flowers already? No,
Not
not
fully.
yet, right?
It's a little too early.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, I'd like to know how it went last year too. I don't know that we got a full update from Director Power on it. And since they're coming under the meeting, maybe they could say how their garden is doing. Subaru.
They give an update, okay.
Update? I don't care where the update comes from. I just want to know how the garden worked out. So that we can consider that as maybe an ongoing thing that maybe we want to put forward out into the township as a design standard. That's why we granted it to them in the first place, was we'd monitor it and then make a decision. So it seemed like a good idea. If it's not appropriate at this time, that's okay too.
Oh, no, that's
They
okay.
wanted us to give you an update on the bees. I was like, yeah, I have no idea. Okay. Subaru
They're
can give
flying
an
like
update, okay.
birds.
I have no idea.
Gardening looks, their natural
Oh,
gardening.
I will ask them, we'll talk to them ahead of the next meeting, and I'll ask them to prep some info.
Super, thanks.
Just a question, is there an update on the site that's adjacent, that's bounded by Haggerty Road up near 94?
A violation letter to the applicant. We've also reported them to Wayne County Soil Erosion. And so I haven't heard anything as of yet, because we sent the letter out last week.
They have until April 30th to come into the township and
between
actually have a conversation
Haggerty
face-to-face
Road.
with us to tell us how they're going to
I guess
fix
they
it.
call it Independence and
Wheeler on
Service
site
Drive
dumping.
behind the mobile station.
They're doing it again today.
By Independence Drive.
I will go by it every day. I mean, I can't miss it.
Next Wednesday is their deadline to come in and meet with us face-to-face. If they don't show up, then we'll take it to escalate it to the next step.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I hate to beat a dead horse, and I know it's really late, but I just wanted to just point out that in the agenda today, we have this Autotron, is that how you say it?
Otto
Canton?
Kennington.
Otto
Otto
Canton?
Kennington.
There was some violations there. I don't know how staff would be able to monitor everything in Van Buren Township. It's hard to do that, and there's gonna be violations. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have the situation that we had tonight. We've had them in the past. Ron, can you give us, we're not the only community, right, video? We're not the only community with that. I hope to control them, but I think asking the township to do that, the staff, if you drive through, what is the community back here? Tyler? Is it Tyler Road Sub? There's lots of violations in there. What is the old subdivision? It's all ranches. They were built, what is it?
Presidential Estates.
The
It's
Ha-
Haggerty
and the Haggerty
subdivision.
sub, what we call.
Subdivision.
Yeah.
Actual name is
Thank you.
Presidential Estates.
States.
There's a lot of violations in there, and it's hard to control. We don't want them to happen, but it's a huge ask.
Code enforcement is always complaint-based. So even if there is a violation, unless somebody actually complains about it, code enforcement officers don't actively go and try to find it. Or we catch them on situations like this where they come and ask you for approval and they just slid so much in there. In those cases, we look for compliance. Unless it is so blatant that you can't really avoid seeing it. Otherwise, some of the things, they're just there, nobody complains. Just stays.
Appreciate Vidya's opinion about an applicant, because I have been called names by some of these violators over the years, and it hurts because, you just want everybody to comply, but that doesn't always happen.
The other version of what happened tonight is really a little, I would say a little easier to monitor, is related to construction. When they push so far, I mean, they do have permits or applications for preliminary site plan on file. Those are easier to track than what you're talking about, which I'd agree is really hard to find.
The gentleman who was the contractor, he was not the issue. However, this was the only way to communicate to him that a representative from the company needs to be here to give the answers.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting it when we were telling him. He thought he could have the answers. He cannot answer for the company. The company is the violator. He's merely the contractor who's building it. So if he gives us assurances, they mean nothing. He'll build the canopy, he'll leave tomorrow, and the violation will be back there. The company needs to be over here answering why they're doing what they're doing. to the planning commission. Tell the planning commission why you did what you did.
And, you know, I will say usually in those situations, especially if we're not recommending approval, we usually try to discourage them from coming before the
Yes.
planning commission because those issues, like we have a meeting scheduled on Tuesday now where we're gonna sit down with everybody and work out the issues before we come to the planning commission. However, in that situation, they were insistent that they come before the board, so, you know.
You
it-
can only advise so much.
At some
Yes.
point, they believe that
They're gonna schmooze us.
you see their point of view because we are not seeing their point of view.
It's fine, they have the right to do it, you
Yeah.
know, it's just,
Absolutely.
Right, that's why a zoning variance board exists. If you don't like administrative decisions from staff, and if you don't like what you hear from the planning commission, that's what a BZA is for, is to hear those kind of things.
yes.
So we make mistakes, but there's a process involved for dealing with that too. God knows I've been on BZA, a lot of us have. There's a process.
Yes.
Camping World has all their black vinyl fencing down, yay.
Yes, great.
It looks like they're ready to operate.
Good. Anything else for the good of the order? In that case, I would entertain that final motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn the meeting.
We've got a motion and support to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're in trouble.